A day very similar today when it was coming off of a very wet, sealed track where we've seen a lot of these kind of biases. And he's really had everything his own way in the days he's run the big figures. If they decide to send him, he may be the inside speed today unless they're aggressive with Monday morning quarterback, in which case he would probably have the track in his favor.
3.0 GPA for you?
In your dreams, my dreams.
They didn't offer horse racing courses, huh?
Well, they did. That was the problem, Greg. They weren't courses. They didn't count towards my GPA. If they did, I think I could have gotten over 3.
If these two do battle up front, which would seem strange, even if they don't, if someone else goes, who's the most likely to pick up the pieces from off the pace?
I thought it was Silly Key more than Happy Farm, even though Happy Farm has run faster figs. Happy Farm sort of has lacked that oomph lately, and I thought Silly Key was improving a little bit. I liked his last race. I picked him. It's a very tricky race, and it's a hard situation when you have the 2 entry mates, and they're the 2 speeds. Maybe Monday morning quarterback throws a monkey wrench into the whole thing.
Meanwhile, the 8th at Oaklawn, that's their feature as we teased in the Open. 3-year-old fillies, mile and a 16th, and 2 seem to stand out here. We talk about Punch Bowl, obviously that fairground shipper for Matt Shearer, massive number that she produced in New Orleans last time out. Let's check in with Paul Duca for more on their main event.
Yeah, it truly is a nice little card we have. A beautiful day here in Hot Springs, Arkansas, about 65 degrees. And I think the weather everybody out here has been hoping for, and it's just beautiful. And when you get to the feature race, you know, you get to Punch Bowl, and when you look at Punch Bowl, it's kind of interesting because I guess you're going to have to pay attention to race before this because the third place finisher, Sacred Wish, drew the 1 hole in the maiden special weight in the race before today's race today. But listen, she didn't really, you know, the comment line says bothered break. I kind of didn't see bothered break. I get it. I think that she was just kind of slow away from there. There was no denying that she just strided away and went on with her business. Now, you know, Brad Cox has all along said that he's been, you know, wanting her to go around 2 turns, and he was worried a little bit going around 1 turn because she doesn't have a ton of early speed. And the one thing that you do get caught up in, and sometimes is 1-horse numbers. You know, is this horse going to repeat that? That was over a sloppy racetrack. Today we're over a fast racetrack. So at 8 to 5 in the morning line, I'm going to take a shot against at least. I think there's some couple others in there that you can go to, Greg. And the next race coming up, race number 4, is a salty little race that we got coming here in Oaklawn.
Yeah, Paulie, thank you. We're going to see Corona Bolt back, who tried the Grade 3 Southwest on the Derby Trail last time out. Did not pan out for Brad Cox. Prior to that, was undefeated sprinting, including a stakes win at Fairgrounds.
But you and I were talking off camera about it. That's a very interesting race, and I got a feeling the way Paulie's talking, he probably agrees with us. Corona Bolt is currently 2 to 5, and you were talking about Royal King in there. Favorite Outlaw gets a trainer change. I thought Ben's Legacy was interesting.
We'll get to it in a second. Here's today's action presented by Claiborne Farm. So races 5 through 9 in New York. Late Pick 5 coming up. Fast at Aqueduct and fast as well in Hot Springs with that 4th race in our immediate future. You can play it all by getting signed up with Naira Bets. $200 deposit match. Sign up bonus with that code right there for new members. Bonus 200. Go to NairaBets.com and bet any track, anywhere, anytime. Champ, he's back. Forte, the 2-year-old champion, made his 3-year-old debut, and it was impressive. Statement victory in the Fountain of Youth. I'll tell you what that means for the Derby picture going forward. Stay with us. We'll be back.
DeMarchelier offers breeders a rare opportunity as the only son of Dubawi standing in Kentucky. Dubawi, one of the world's most celebrated stallions, is now a sire of sires. His top sons at stud are making a name for themselves across the globe. With a picture-perfect pedigree, this son of Dubawi brings one of the world's most potent bloodlines to America. DeMarchelier, standing at Claiborne Farm.
We are back on America's Day of the Races on our FS2 coverage, brought to you in part by Claiborne Farm. 100 years of doing the usual, unusually well. Race 4 at Oaklawn, we touched on it briefly. Corona Bolt, 6-furlong sprint in this $100,000 allowance race. Started out his career 2 for 2 for Brad Cox, including a Sugar Bowl win, stakes victory at Fairgrounds where he earned his massive figure. Tried the Grade 3 Southwest on the Derby Trail, now cuts back to sprint.
And I do love that they're cutting him back to sprint because he's obviously got some talent. How much he has, you know, it's interesting. You have to think that everybody looks at these horses and they think about the Woody Stevens on Belmont Day and the Alan Jerkins on Travers Day, 2 Grade 1s at 7 furlongs. And they tried one race long. He's not a router. So get back to doing what he does well. But he finds himself in a pretty salty race with older horses as well. And, you know, he earned this figure, Greg, on the front end. With the presence of Favored Outlaw, Count de Monet, and even Sinner Sin outside, I don't see this horse making the lead. I'm curious what Paulie thinks.
Yeah, Paulie, what do you got for us?
Well, I'm in a complete agreement with both of you guys. You know, if the one for me, Corona Bolt, drew 4, 5, or 6, I couldn't even warrant 1 to 2, to be honest with you. But I could warrant maybe like 3 to 5 or 4 to 5. But you know, from the rail, this is a horse that has in the 2 wins. Was a step slow and then just sort of was able to just put horses away. Now, his race that he won at Fairgrounds in the Super Bowl, I mean, he was 50 cents on the dollar and was able just to stroll around there. Andy's completely right. The 3 is fast, Count de Monet. I mean, this horse is very, very quick. I mean, the 2 Favored Outlaw, Francis Arietta was trying to keep this horse with the pony. He's keyed up and he's ready to go. The 1 looks tremendous. I'm not saying, I just think that position in the 1 hole puts him in a really tough spot. You know, Royal King was very good last time out. And I know that the numbers are a little bit light on Joking Way. He kind of broke a tiny bit step slow. And, you know, Ricardo Sotana kind of like took him in the 3 path and rode him with a lot of confidence last time out. And he went by horses. He was bet. It was the first time he got Lasix. And I think that number, he might improve in here, and maybe he could pass some horses. I get that the 1's the horse to beat here at 3 to 5. And I also get where Andy's going with the 6, Ben's Legacy. If all these horses start to go at it here, and Florent Giroux decides, okay, let me send my horse up through the rail here with Count de Monet and Royal King and all these other horses, Ben Legacy's is the one that's going to be flying late. I think the 6 is a good trifecta or superfecta horse for sure. I think the 4 will overachieve here in a little bit, although the 1 is a horse to beat.
Horse to beat, but there's some questions. He's not, I mean, he's going to take pressure. If he's going to try and win the way he did in the Sugar Bowl, he's going to face some pressure in here.
I'm going to say a couple of things. I'm interested in the 2 Favored Outlaw. If you like horse for courses, getting back to Oaklawn with a big figure, and I like Ben's Legacy, the full 2
and this is,
Rushing Fall.
Meanwhile, one of the horses that can make life difficult for the big odds-on favorite, Count de Monet, who's making his 3-year-old debut.
Absolutely. Now, he's got to show that his wet track win here wasn't a fluke, because he's got 3 races that make him a huge price in here. It's like Royal King, who I know you're interested a bit, the 5. He's got to show the sealed track last time wasn't a bit aberrant. But to be fair to him, it was his 3rd career start. I don't trust this horse on a dry track. I do think he can affect the race, though, because he can be forward in here. I'm curious what the 5 does. I thought Ben's Legacy, they took a shot stretching him out last time. It was a mistake. He's an odd horse with a pedigree for turf, full to Rushing Fall, but I think he's a dirt sprinter, new gelding. I like Ben's Legacy as an upsetter.
1 to 2 favoritism now. Corona Bolt. Let's bring in Jonathan Kinchin now as we get set for this Oaklawn race. JK, what do you think here?
Yeah, I mean, Paulie said something earlier that I agree with. If Corona Bolt was drawn more towards the outside, I'd have a little bit more confidence. But being drawn on the inside, you know, it's got to get a kind of hustle away from there. There's other speed in here. And that last race was pretty poor, although it was going longer and on a sloppy racetrack. I think maybe cutting back will help Corona Bolt, the most likely winner without a doubt. But I think at 1 to 2 versus the 2 Favored Outlaw, who's 5 to 1, I think Favored Outlaw makes a lot more sense in here. Favored Outlaw, if we're talking about lifetime races, I mean, back in the day, January 29th of 22, Favored Outlaw ran a race that, in my opinion, was just as good as that big race they're betting Corona Bolt off of. Now, Favorite Outlaw did come back and has run some poor races since then. But getting a break since September 14th tells me there was likely an issue. So I kind of have the feeling that there was a reason why Favorite Outlaw was running so poorly in some of those races that don't look as good as that January 29th race. So if Favorite Outlaw can show up here and kind of run back to that form that Favorite Outlaw started the career with, and you can absolutely beat the one Corona Bolt. And at 5-1 versus 1-2, I'm willing to pay to find out. I'll take the 2 Favorite Outlaw.
All right, a bunch of us going in different directions. Not many of us want to take 1-2 here. Right, at least Royal King for me, who's still 10-1 in here, debuted, went to the bench for a year, improved off that.
Yep.
And then every single race, it's only been 3 races, has moved forward, and that last race puts him right there with Corona Bolt.
Oh, I don't care what figures you look at. He's one of the players if you look at the last fig. The
Maybe
problem
he
was
doesn't
the
show
sealed
up
track.
again.
Well, there's two problems. One is the sealed track. The other one is his big number came controlling on the front end. And the way this race looks on paper, the likelihood of controlling the front end is extremely unlikely. But I think, and Jonathan's point is extremely well taken, I think Corona Bolt should be 8 or 9-5 in this race. And I agree with what Jonathan said, that being on the inside, it forces his hand and could potentially create a problem if and when he gets outrun. Whereas if he drew an outside post, he could direct his own trip. I'm not saying Corona Bolt's not going to win. I'm not saying he may not be a nice horse, and I'm curious to see what he does. This is far too competitive. This is a minefield of horses that have a right to run big numbers and beat him.
Yeah, just as you said, I think the key point there, making life even more difficult for him, is where he drew with all this other speed in here.
And the other thing is, when you're looking at 1-2s, heavy favorites like that, usually it's a race where you look at it other and you go, I just don't really like it. I don't like anybody else. I look at this race and I see a plethora of horses that you can make a case for.
I would love to do a study on this. I'm sure there's one out there, but my success rate with odds-on favorites is extremely low.
But that's what every horse player thinks.
It's true.
But every horse player, and it's true, I feel the same way. There's nothing worse than being alive with a heavy favorite for a score to pick 5. You never win. Owners will tell you, they all want to be a heavy favorite. The other problem is when you lose with these horses, it's more painful if it's in a big score for a pick 5
I've come
or something.
to expect it now.
Yeah, you and every other player.
At Oaklawn, Corona Bolt, the odds-on favorite for Brad Cox from the rail, coming out of the southwest, cutting back. Here's Jim Byers.
And they're off. Favorite Outlaw displaying speed. Joking Way came out fast. Royal King bringing it early on the outside, and here comes Corona Bolt. And Corona Bolt, Florent Giroux immediately to the lead here. First 1/8 of a mile or so, and Corona Bolt establishes a 1-length cushion over Favorite Outlaw and Joking Way. Royal King 4th up on the extreme outside, 4 deep. Ignitus trying to make a bid from between. Count de Monet finds himself in behind them here. He's next to last toward the inside, 3.5 off. And Ben's Legacy is now the trailer as they circle that turn. Corona Bolt has the lead by 1 length. And Favorite Outlaws chasing in second. Then comes Joking Way and a 4-wide Royal King. Ignitus is back in behind the wall. Swinging up on the outside is Ben's Legacy. Count de Monet trails. Corona Bolt pressured here by Favorite Outlaw. Corona Bolt. Now the rider goes to the whip right-handed after a vigorous hand ride. Favorite Outlaw's running a huge one. Corona Bolt back in the sprint game and back to the winner's circle. Takes it 1.5 lengths over a game. Favorite Outlaw well back then to Ignitus and Ben's Legacy.
Corona Bolt took a little while to get in gear and finally take command and take the lead. Floated up to 4-5 as well.
Well, he floated 4-5 because the 2 went down from 5-1 to 2-1 at the end. I mean, you're watching it, it almost felt like all the riders were afraid of Corona Bolt and they weren't going that quickly. Well, they went 21.75, so they were moving early in this race. Best 2 horses ran 1-2. This is a nice performance by both of these horses, Greg.
Corona Bolt, undefeated sprinting now, 3 for 3, and he beats 4-year-olds in this field.
Yeah, it becomes interesting. I think that, there's the Bay Shores here at Aqueduct on Wood Day. There's also, I believe, a 7-furlong 3-year-old race at Keeneland. Do you stretch out and go the mile in the Derby trial on Derby Day? No, it's not the Derby, the Pat Day mile now. And they're all looking at the Woody Stevens and hoping to get there. And maybe we may see this horse there.
Final time, 109.2.
Is
for
it
the
me,
6 furlongs.
Is it me or does Stone Street always have good runners every year?
They do.
Every year they have good runners.
5th at Aqueduct, it is the start of the late pick 5. One turn mile, $12,000 claiming race, even money on Little Commissioner.
Well, he is a drop down and he is a layover sort of on figs. One thing I'll say, off the claim, he ran a $10,000 claiming race and he ran second, but he did lose to Durkin's Call and he was 6-1. I'm going to try to beat him with Goldini, but I have no illusions. He is way the horse to beat.
This is a look at him.
He is running second in the race that or I think this is his race. Which race are we looking at?
225.
225.
His last
time.
race.
He runs third. This is a funny race. He chased. The speed held. He couldn't catch the speed. He got caught from behind. Were they better horses? Probably. I'll tell you what worries me a little bit. There's plenty of pace signed on in this race. And I could see him stalking wide against a quick pace. And while normally you say it's a good trip, I think you really need to save ground pretty much in these races. And I worry he may be a horse that never gets near the rail in here. And when you're talking about short favorites, you have to look at the negatives more than the positives.
Apprentice rider, Jaime Torres, had a big day earlier this week. Will be aboard. 7-pound weight break on the huge even money favor right now. It's probably going to get lower than that.
You say earlier this week, and I realized we're a little off our game because we weren't on yesterday. So it felt like yesterday, right? But it was the last time we were on. It was Friday. And with Jose Gomez losing his bug, he and
Jason Weiss,
they're both in position to really take advantage of that situation. And I think both these guys have shown that they can ride.
And there's Jason on the 5. Goldini, 5-1 right now.
His last race was awful. I'm not going to make a big excuse for it. He had a modest excuse, but not for where he finished. But I did pick him.
Off since May 7th of last year. This is the one, Mucho Sunshine.
Yeah, I mean, this horse at times has run reasonable races, but the layoff has to be a concern.
Kumar next door at 9-1. Matty overrides.
This horse has got to be going from the inside, so you have the potential inside speed on a track that may be conducive to that kind of running style, but I feel like this horse is not in great form and the pace may get hot.
Close almost just shy of $330,000 in earnings. The 3 Jumpster, Heman Harkey aboard.
This is a much tougher field than the one that he and Warrior Chief were in last time.
Yeah, he just edged out Warrior Chief in that race. Warrior Chief was actually favored in that race.
Warrior Chief had every chance to beat him, and Jumpster just ran a better race.
Here's Goldini and Jason Weiss.
I took him because he has back races and he's off the claim for Rudy. I have zero confidence in him, but I wanted an alternative to the favorite, and he was my best choice.
10-time winner, this 8-year-old Little Commissioner.
No massive knock on him, but I look at this racetrack and I worry a little bit. He could be wide the whole way, which might be a negative on this track.
And supply chain, can you make any case?
You know, I can't. Maybe if it was green, not brown, that he was running on, right? He's a better turf horse.
That's where most of his successes come. 20-1 from that outside post. Pick 5 starts here, nearly $100,000 in the pool.
I look at him running in these $8,000 claiming races, and he may just not have any form left. Isn't it a horse with turf racing already in the book for April 7th? You wonder if somebody might take a shot and claim him and think I can get back on the right surface because he's clearly a better horse in the turf. He may have just lost his form completely. But I sometimes wonder, once you've gotten over the period of having to pay for them, you know, keep them in training or keep them anywhere, you get closer to turf racing.
Back on the turf that soon?
April 7th, the Thursday
right
for the Wood, yeah. It's been a pretty mild winter. Those tarps will be down in a few weeks, Greg. Look outside now. It's a beautiful day. 50 degrees out.
Yeah, great day here. I thought this one had a look. Layoff, obviously, a concern.
I think Lolita Shivmongol is one of these trainers that is really under the radar. You know, you don't really hear her that often, and her horses run. She's never a trainer that I'm afraid to take when they run. I worry about the layoff. She's 0 for 3 off of layoffs of 6 to 12 months, but the horses were 12-1, 22-1, and 157-1, so I wouldn't draw any conclusions.
We had to wait a little bit, but finally she's here. Maggie Wolfendale joins us on the program for the first time.
I was in the paddock, Greg. I'm just waiting for Oaklawn, you know, watching these horses warm up, as I did want to get a good look at your favorite Little Commissioner in here because I didn't love the way he was walking around the paddock, so I wanted to keep a keen eye on the way that he moved out in the racetrack, but no problems once he got into stride. Now, if you saw the equipment changes, goggle off. He has a scratched left cornea, and even when they put the shortcut cheater blinkers on, he still kind of closed his eye, and, you know, I wonder if, not that eyes when they necessarily affect a horse when running, but sometimes that goggle will, because if they still can see, which I believe he still can, it obscures their vision. So it makes them a little bit more tentative to run through. So I like the fact that it comes off, but keep in mind, I still think he is getting over that eye injury that he had. But otherwise, he looks good here overall. So I think he's very logical. Coming in out of some tougher races. Number 4, Warrior in Chief. He's a horse that I think has a good bit of hang in him. And if he didn't have that about him, I'd probably pick him, because if you're not feeling as trustworthy with the favorite, then I think he's a viable alternative. I thought he actually had a little bit of a trip last time. He broke slow, pinched back on a horse who likes to be forward, so then he was in the tight spot on the rail, punched through, going into the turn, and just, it's hard when you're a horse that maybe doesn't have the biggest heart to be battling from that inside. Now, we'll see what kind of trip he pulls here again, but he looks good, and he's warming up well here for Michelle Nevin, so I think he's a logical alternative. I just wish he had more wins as of his recent form. It's been over a year since he's seen the winner's circle. Number 5, Goldini for Rudy Rodriguez. He'll turn back a bit in distance. I am still of the mind that this horse is a better turf horse, and even if it's the brown, then I wish it was wet and sealed for him, because he just looks like a turf horse. He looks good. First off the claim here for Rudy. He's dappled head to toe. He's very healthy, looking good out on the racetrack. I just think at the end of the day, this is just the wrong surface, Greg.
Yeah, I mean, look, 3 of his 4 wins, they've come on grass. We talked about it, 7-1. But
She's definitely right. He's a better turf horse. That's inarguable.
you're taking it.
That isn't. I don't think he has to run a Herculean race to win this race. Of course, Maggie's right that he's a better turf horse, 100%. Having said that, I think there's something to like about him on the turf. He's able to run back to that effort. And while it was listed as muddy, it was a muddied harrowed track. And I really wonder a lot if handling wet tracks is more about handling sealed tracks than moisture in the track for most horses.
3-5, Lil Commissioner. Let's go to JK.
Yeah, this is kind of an interesting situation with these 2 back-to-back races, the one in Oaklawn where Corona Bolt was odds on. Now we have Little Commissioner, and Andy kind of mentioned it, and I want to kind of piggyback that idea. Little Commissioner on paper does look like he should be this short of a price. He does have a significant figure edge with a lot of horses that it's hard to kind of come up with a story as to why or how they're going to beat the 6 Little Commissioner. So, I like races like this. This is one of the reasons why, like races like this in the, to start the pick 5 sequence. I think that if you're playing the pick 5 on a small budget, this is the type of horse you can single, the 6th Little Commissioner, and move on. I'm not cutting in line to bet this horse to win at 3-5, but I do think in the conversation of a multi-race wager, this is the type of horse that you can lean on, the 6th Little Commissioner, with all of those figures. It feels like has a pretty big edge. The only other horse I thought was interesting that Anthony kind of touched on too is the 1 Mucho Sunshine. If you're looking for a little bit of value, I would say the value is found down there on the rail.
And there is the 1, Mucho Sunshine. Lolita Shiv Mangle trains off since May 7th, again of last year, so long layoff to contend with in here. There's some back figures, though, that tough to see this horse maybe doing it off that long a time away, but put him in the mix.
The layoffs are condensed. Another thing, Little Commissioner, that worries about him. This horse is 10 for 41 lifetime. He's also 1 for 10 over the last year plus. And I wonder if he's gotten older. He just doesn't have that desire to win.
Talking about the favorite.
Yeah. Just look at all the second and third place finishes. Last time Jones his favorites.
Down to right. David Aragona nailed it. 3-5. Morning line maker.
Doesn't miss much, does he?
Jaime Torres aboard. Get that 7-pound weight break here. 1 turn mile coming up here in the start of the late pick 5. Let's go to Chris Griffin.
All in line. All set. And they're off. Maybe a step slow for Jumpster at the back of the field. Warrior in Chief has early speed, is right out to the front with Kumar. It's Kumar who's going to take command, is up by a neck. Now call it a half length with Warrior in Chief who's going to take back, and now wrangled in here Up on the far outside is going to be Little Commissioner, who's got some forward momentum there with Supply Chain as they stack up on the front end and come out of the chute. Warrior in Chief can wait no longer. It's Warrior in Chief who puts a nose in front. Kumar is at the rail, is now back to second. The favorite, Little Commissioner, is 3 wide from third. Out wider is Supply Chain, who's now driven along, trying to move forward from fourth. Progressing is Jason Wyas and Goldini. They've now taken that fourth position away. The 2 at the back are Jumpster and Mucho Sunshine. 23 and 3 for that opening quarter mile. Warrior in Chief lets it out. It's Warrior in Chief, who now has a half mile left to go, is up by a length and a half. Kumar is all in to the inside of Little Commissioner, who is progressing, and here comes Little Commissioner after Warrior in Chief, who's still clear. Goldini is now getting off the rail for Wyas, is now in pursuit, is about to challenge and take third. From the back, Jumpster is trying to rally on. They've got to catch Warrior in Chief, and Manny Franco has not moved. It's Warrior in Chief, who's got a quarter mile left to go, and here comes the run from Little Commissioner up on the outside here from second. They went 1 minute 12.27 for 3/4. Warrior in Chief is very game to the inside. The favorite, Little Commissioner, is bounding up on the outside trying to catch this front runner. It's still Warrior in Chief finding plenty. Little Commissioner has not run by. Warrior in Chief is fully in command. Warrior in Chief will give Manny Franco another one. It's Warrior in Chief over Little Commissioner. Then came Kumar and Goldini in 1 minute 38.13 seconds.
Warrior in Chief does not relent. Little Commissioner unable to get to him in a mild upset here to start off the late pick 5.
Yeah, and Warrior in Chief didn't spend an inordinate amount of time on the rail in here, but the wide movers just aren't doing well. And, you know, I wonder, Greg, what we talked about as they were going in the gate. Little Commissioner doesn't really have that oomph to get by horses anymore. He just seemed, because it looked like he was kind of going to get him top of the stretch, right?
Yeah.
And he just didn't have it. Did the track have something to do with it, or is he just a horse that, at this point, as an 8-year-old, he's very comfortable running behind somebody else? I wouldn't like Warrior in Chief, so nothing was going to happen. I was going to like the winner, I'll tell you that. He was the second choice.
5-2 on this 5-year-old who wins for the 6th time in his career. Michelle Nevin, Manny Franco, Winfield Racing, 4-6, 2-5 finish. We're going to take a timeout. We'll be back. Slight upset, odds-on favorite defeated to start the late pick 5. We'll set the stage for the pick 4 when we return here on America's Day at the Races on our FS2 coverage.
Olympiad leads American Revolution. Olympiad gets the gold in the Jockey Club Gold Cup.
Who you betting on? How about an app created specifically for horse racing? Naira Bets. We specialize in thundering hooves, fist pumping, and boosting your bankroll with robust weekly promotions. And offer betting tips from actual horse racing experts. Bet all day and night, nationwide. Get the action and thrill of horse racing with Naira Bets.
Game Winner first got started and ran a very, very impressive maiden race to Del Mar. Came back in the Del Mar Futurity and again won very impressively at 7 furlongs. And then just continued that unbelievable 2-year-old year. Went on to win the American Pharoah Stakes at Santa Anita and then the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. And then was obviously crowned 2-year-old champion. Got this precocity to do that, plus the stamina and everything that his whole family indicates.
Would you believe that champions weren't measured by rings, but by a crown? That the history books were written on dirt? That the greatest of all time was a horse?
He is moving like a tremendous machine.
Experience the magic at this year's Belmont Stakes as we honor the 50th anniversary of Secretariat's legendary Triple Crown triumph. Join the celebration at Belmont Park on Saturday, June 10th. Tickets on sale now at BelmontStakes.com. Back with you on America's Day at the Races on FS2. And it's Warrior in Chief. Picks up the 6th win of his career. holding off Little Commissioner. He did a slightly interesting mid-stretch and then just no punch.
Yeah, I think Manny came out a fraction of an inch and it intimidated the horse. But Little Commissioner's looking to me more and more like a horse that just isn't going by horses because he has a little bit of a bias that may have worked a little against him. I'm sorry, he's supposed to be Warrior in Chief.
Early pick 5, a modest $120. But you beat a 3-5 favorite to start the late pick 5 sequence. And we'll get into the pick 4 again coming up. Corona Bolt back at Oaklawn, now 3 for 3 sprinting. That stakes win in the Sugar Bowl, cuts back out of the Southwest, wins again, and beats some older horses in the process. Let's go to Paula Duca for more.
With winning jockey here, Florent Giroux aboard Corona Bolt, and you were telling me that you actually were riding Cyberknife when this horse ran last time going long, so I can't ask you why, but today you had to make a decision whether you wanted to go to the lead or not. When did you make that decision?
You know, actually, when I look at my right and I thought the fastest horse in the race was the 3 horse, and he didn't break very sharp. So from there, I look at two other guys. I said, I think I should be in front of those horses. I really thought the 3 horse was definitely the speed of the speed, but since he didn't break very sharp, I took the decision to take command, you know, when I saw he didn't break very sharp.
You know, when the horse came back in the winner's circle, it looked like the 2 was coming back, but the 1 was, your horse wasn't even blowing hard. Did he have a lot left?
No, I did. No, I actually was a little bit waiting, you know, on my signal down the lane. I give him 1 or 2 slaps just to keep him, you know, focused to the wire. But he ran great, and the 2 horse is an older horse. He's polished. Yeah. He was coming off a layoff, but sometimes it's hard, especially at this time of the year when you run against older horses. But that was a perfect race written for the horse, and I would say, you know, Brad entered this horse, you know, beautifully, and it was a nice for his mind, you know. It's a good build-up, and I think we can go back in stakes races now and be tough again.
Well, congratulations, Flo. Nice little flight from Louisiana here. I know you got another couple mounts on the day. Florent Giroux gets a Brad Cox runner home here, and Corona Bolt looks like he could be a premier sprinter.
3 for 3 sprinting now. Certainly looks like he has a ton of talent. Gotta be eyeing some of these bigger targets later on in the year.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine that they're thinking, you know, they want to get to the Woody Stevens and the Jerkins. And people say I'm talking about NYRA races. They're grade 1s for 3-year-old sprinting, and they're the races you want to be in. The question is, where will we see him next? I'm guessing Keeneland. I think they have that race. Love to see him come for the Bayshore here, though, on Wood Day. I think I'll have to text Brad and tell him we want him in New York.
He has you, it's like his own phone for you, right? It's like the bat phone.
Let me tell you something about Brad Cox, and anybody out there that deals with him knows this. He is the easiest person in racing to deal with.
Absolutely great.
He really is. He's really a terrific guy.
Anyone that will talk to Andy Serling has
right.
to
If the guy answers my texts, then he's either got absolutely no life or he's incredibly nice.
Are we teasing you to break, or are we teasing the winner here? Andy gave out Ray's Kane in the Gotham. Huge upset winner, 23-1. Nice call. We'll see what his prospects are for the first Saturday in May when we come back.
Whatever you use to predict future stallion success, breathe slowly and gaze at the desert's first great championship race. Curlin won it. So did Street Cry, Arrogate, and now, in a time even faster than Arrogate's, Mystic Guide. The cold hard fact is, after this, he was rated the best horse in the world. Mystic Guide. New to Darley.
We're back on America's Day of the Races. Thanks for being with us on this Sunday afternoon on our FS2 coverage. More live action ahead from Oaklawn. And we have the Late Pick 4 coming up at Aqueduct. 2-year-old champion, long-awaited return for Forte in the Fountain of Youth on Saturday. He did not disappoint.
No, he didn't. I mean, he got an absolute dream trip in here and a perfect setup, but he also just dominated this field. And, you know, for those people that are out saying, well, the competition is going to get steeper. Yeah, I know, but I'm not saying I would make him my Derby selection. I don't know why anybody's picking Derby winners in March, but he just continues to do the right thing every time he runs. He runs good figures. He's adaptable. He puts himself in position. This is a horse that's been a professional racehorse since the first time he ever ran. He's won on wet tracks. He's good around 2 turns. He's good around 1 turn. I don't see the chink in his armor. I mean, yeah, there may be faster horses at some point, but this is a horse that just does everything he's supposed to do well every time he runs.
Big day for violence on the Derby Trail. Raise Kane as well.
Oh, right.
Forte, this was off a 4-month layoff. Not much drop-off at all in terms of the best figure he ever ran in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, and it seems like only upside ahead for him.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of this horse. I just think that he's sometimes these horses come along like this. They win a 3-year-old, 2-year-old championship, they run, and you think, yeah, they're really not that good. They were kind of lucky. The competition was that tough. I don't know. I feel like this horse adapts to all circumstances. He's gotten good trips and good rides, but he puts himself in these situations. I like Fort.
Undisputed, not saying he's going to win, but right now, undisputed leader.
Yeah, because
for the Kentucky
other
Derby.
thing is Arabian Night hadn't worked for 3 weeks. He had his first work back apparently yesterday. Obviously, he's shown some talent, but he hasn't come close to accomplishing what Forte has done. Not even close to what he's accomplishing. And everybody gets so enamored, and I fall victim to this too, by these flashy, fast kind of speed horses. I like a horse like Forte that's shown that circumstances don't seem to matter. He just delivers no matter what's going on. The one thing you can say is he's mostly gotten quick paces and contested paces, but he's probably going to get that going forward. He's the Derby favorite. I don't care if you like him or not.
Bluegrass or Florida Derby, last stop before that first Saturday in May for the 2-year-old champ, it sounds like. 5th at Oaklawn, start of the Pick 5. 2-turn mile, condition claiming race, lower level, tough race to sort out. We'll leave it in your hands, Paul.
Well, it is a tough race to sort out because when you look at the favorites in here, you have the 6 and the 7. Now, the 6, Whooping Jay, very familiar with this horse out in California. This horse has been in some very good barns. The Mark Glatt barn, George Papapajamo, and then recently came here to Oaklawn at the Bill Spar barn. And Bill is an old school guy where he takes these horses in, usually a reclamation project. If you could see, he claims and lays them up. My issue with Whooping Jay is this horse has never gone the distance. And I was trying to look back, and this horse has not run the distance on the dirt. Now, on the turf has gone around 2 turns, but on the dirt in over a couple years. Now, I can't say this horse can't win because I want to say Christian Torres had the nightcap the other day on a horse that hadn't routed in 3 years, and the horse won by about 7. So the 6 Whooping Jay, I would think, is going to be in front as much as he wants to be. I mean, he's completely the fastest horse in here, but he just seems like he's just crumbled everywhere. Even, and I know he'll be able to get a little bit slower, but is he going to be able to handle the full mile? Now, the 7 in here, Cool Runnings. You know, claim for Robertino Diodoro for Thomas Vance for, 62.5. So this horse hasn't ran on a dry racetrack for Robertino. This horse got sent to the lead from the 1 hole. I think they're going to play it a little bit different today. But that was the first time getting long. So another horse that's 6 years old, going long for the first time in a while, and it kind of didn't pan out. So is this horse just getting money because it's Robertino Diodoro? It's just an interesting and a funky race that I can't wrap my head around. The 8 is dropping, but shows no form. The 9's got 1 race, is dropping a little bit, was 62-1. I mean, the 10 was, you can go on and on. These horses just were not bad at all and haven't ran. I mean, the 4 hasn't been around 2 turns. It doesn't like 2 turns. You sort of land to the 1. Major Kong in here, the 1, gets a little weight with the Bug Boy. And I understand this horse launches from way back, but this horse has been in big fields and likes to pass horses where a lot of these other ones really don't. So not giving you much. I mean, the 6 and the 7 can win this race, but the one I think at 5-1 might be the one you're going to have to hold off late.
All right, Paulie, thanks. That's Major Kong for trainer Tim Martin.
I just worry about his lack of speed. I know what Paulie's saying, but man, he's slow. I like the 9, Patty O'Dini, second off a layoff, dropping down. I'm hoping he can sit second behind Whoop and Jay, and I'm taking a shot. He's got some back form going longer, albeit for Diodoro, but I thought he was a little interesting in here as an alternative.
And, the 6, Whooping Jay, should be all alone in front. We'll see how long he can carry that speed as we're back to New York. And race 6 kicks off the pick 4. 6 furlongs, allowance optional claiming field. The horse we talked about at the top of the program, Seas Get Degrees. Part of an entry that is 2 to 5 right now, along with Amundsen. Let's go down to Maggie.
Greg, I'm actually going to start with the horse that just looks best, and that is number 4, Silly Key, in here, the New York bred, who will face some open company. Now, we do see Linda Rice's nephew, Adam Rice, deputizing for her, but something that Linda is very good at doing is running her horses when they look well, or doing well, and that's really what I'm getting here from Silly Key, in that we'll check out his replay from last time, but he did not get the best of trips. Just a trip that wasn't conducive to how the race played out and how the track was kind of playing. He looks fabulous here once again, and he was coming off of a week layoff. Now he's getting a little over 2 weeks between starts, and again, same impression that I've seen from his last 2 efforts. We'll see how he ranks, though, amongst this open company, as his stablemate, though, and here the lettered part of the winning move entry is Admonson. Admonson did not break as well last time, and he's a horse that sometimes when he starts not breaking well, it usually means he's not doing as well, and I've just seen him look a bit better than this. He looks great in his weight, but just in his coat, he looks a bit dull. He's just kind of acting dull too. We'll see what he does here. I would hope to see him at least be a bit more forward than what he was last time. Obviously, there's a lot of speed in here with Monday Morning Quarterback and Seas Get Degrees, but still, he needs to break well today to show that he's going to run well, Greg.
Entry, wow. Taking a ton of money right now. We talked about in the Open, too. Both these two, they want to be forward. Are they going to duel each other into submission for the same owners, too?
They're not going to duel each other in submission. So the question becomes, which one do you think they're going to decide to be more aggressive with? And it's difficult. My argument would be, if you look at these two, Seas with Degrees has won races rating. Amundsen, while he won a race last year rating, for the most part, he's more of a need-to-lead type. Now, you might want to make the argument that Seas Get Degrees is in better form. Maybe he's the more likely one of the two, so maybe you go with him. I don't know. Let me give you another possibility. How much slower is Monday Morning Quarterback, QB, the horse on the rail? Could Torres be aggressive in here and throw a monkey wrench into the whole thing, which would be problematic for both halves of the entry? Just throwing it out there.
A lot to watch early on in this 6th at Aqueduct. We're back at Oaklawn, loading up here for the 5th start of this pick 5. 5 to 2. Wow, the Speedster has become the favorite now, Whooping Jay. See if
he should be the favorite, right?
He can carry that speed.
I bet
going a mile. The 7 second choice at 3 to 1. Cool runnings, and Paul talked about Major Kong, a horse who at least is going to be making a late run, but it comes from very, very far out of it. Jim Byers, the call, first leg of this late pick 5.
Patty O'Dini, Cool Runnings, Rye Humor, and Make Noise. They're in the gate. And they're off. Whooping Jay is trying for the early lead here on the stretch out. And moving up alongside him is Living on Tulsa Time. Bravo, Bravo right there on the inside. And Cool Runnings is 3 wide. 4 wide is Patty O'Dini. 5 wide is Make Noise in the lime green silks on the outside. Then back toward the inside, it's Rye Humor. He's in behind them early, about 4 lengths off the lead. Gap of 3 then. And it's Optimus Cat, followed by Spark And Major Kong trails the field as they race up the backstretch. And Whooping Jay and Tyler Bays have drawn clear by 3.5 to Living on Tulsa Time. Bravo, Bravo on the inside third. Cool Runnings to the outside in the clear in fourth. Farther out comes One of the Bright Grays, Make Noise. Back to the inside is Rye Humor. He appears to be a path off the rail and 5 lengths from the front. 2 to the good of Spark. And then comes Major Kong, Optimus Cat, and Patty O'Dini around the turn. And it's a lonely lead for Whooping Jay, and they're coming to the first finish line here. Whooping Jay is coming under urging. The lead is still a bit yawning, but diminishing. Bravo, Bravo is raced into a more prominent second. And then from the inside comes Rye Humor. Living on Tulsa Time drops back. Major Kong moves by him as they straighten away in the upper stretch. Less than a furlong to go, and Whooping Jay is put to the test. Here comes Major Kong on the far outside, and Bravo, Bravo, final strides, and it's going to be Whooping Jay, and he wires them. Whooping Jay holds on over the late bit of Major Kong. Bravo, Bravo was third, Rye Humor fourth.
Well, as Paul LaDuca expected, Major Kong putting in a big late run, just runs out of room here. Whooping Jay able to take this field gate to wire.
No, as Paulie also said, this horse could be in front wherever he wanted to be, and he was 100% right about that. You and I both thought the number 1 was going to catch him. We were seeing him when he was making that move into 6th around the turn. Nice ride by the rider, splitting horses, Torres, but he just didn't get there. I thought he had a chance to get there. And it felt like Whooping Jay was sort of finished. Didn't it seem like he was kind of falling apart?
It got dicey late.
Yeah, but he got it done.
Wins is the 5-2 favorite. Here we go back at Aqueduct. Part of the entry. Sees, get, agrees. 2 for 3 at Aqueduct.
A horse who has only been able to put up big performances with bias-aided and advantageous trips, I'm extremely dubious.
He'll be in front.
That's it? You've made it.
Amundsen.
Greg has made a definitive statement.
Other half of the entry breaks from post 4.
I think his form is a little bit suspect, but if he can get clear, he can win. I think this entry itself is very dicey.
Rail goes to Monday morning quarterback.
I don't know if he's good enough to win. He is coming out of a better field where he tried to wire the field and the race came apart, but I would be aggressive with him. I just don't think he's good enough.
Silly Key at 5-1. Jason Fuentes, Adam Rice trains.
I picked him. Glad to hear what Maggie had to say. I think he's in good form. He's getting back to that form from a few years ago. He was Linda Rice's 2000th win a few years ago when he was a 3-year-old 3 years
and
ago.
This guy, he's been around for a long time on this circuit. Happy for him, the 9-year-old 12-time winner.
He is the most likely horse, if the race falls apart, to pick up the pieces. My problem with him is he just doesn't have that extra something these days. And if I think the race comes apart, I'll take Silly Key, who spent a lot of time down near the inside last time, which may not have been the place to be.
JK, this entry getting overbet?
Yeah. I mean, entries always get overbet. And this one is nothing different. Look, we talk about it a lot on the show, and we're often wrong. Paces are very hard to predict in New York. It just doesn't, for whatever reason. I don't know if it's the amount of money they're running for. I don't know if it's the kind of the higher level big shot riders that happen to show up in New York. These paces don't always materialize. But I will say this one feels like it's going to be fast. Monday morning QB down on the inside's got speed, and there's speed at every point of the race when you look into that gate. I just feel like the 4 Silly Key is the horse that is going to be running at them late. You're getting a nice price at 9-2. I hate taking closers on the dirt at short prices, but I don't have a problem taking a closer on the dirt at a fair square price, and I think that Silly K at 9-2 makes a ton of sense in here. The way that horse ran last time in the slot was rolling late, and I think we'll get a similar setup. Got a setup last time, and often you'll kind of downgrade a horse who got a setup last time. However, what happens if they get another setup? And I think that's what's going to happen here with the 4 Silly K.
So Maggie, Jonathan, and I are all interested in Silly Key. They should probably scratch him, right?
Zero chance.
This poor guy is tugging around him.
Going to try and tee up Silly Key. Here it is, back from February 17th when he did get that setup. It was a fairly hot pace up front. He just missed from the clouds.
Well, they were moving. I don't think it was a collapsed race. The favorite who was in front collapsed. And that was a favorite that Maggie was pretty strong about before the race, that she didn't like the way the horse looked and didn't like him. I mean, you have to remember the horse who won, Majority Partner, was right on top of the pace, and the horse who was third was right on top of the pace. So the race came apart a little bit, but Silly Key, who wasn't running the rail, but he was pretty close to it late, he was rallying inside of horses, and all of the good running that day was done on the outside, so I thought a little against it. I don't know what happened to him that day, because he broke like a shot, and he just fell completely out of the race. But considering how well he finished, maybe it was the best thing for him.
Let's go down to Maggie.
It's kind of one of those funny situations, guys, where a trainer wins the race, but they're actually more upset about the other horse that didn't get a good trip. I remember talking to Linda Rice after Silly Key's Key, whatever it is, his last race, and her just being flabbergasted that this horse broke on top. And there was no sense of urgency. Eric Cancel just let him fall way back, and then he comes flying from the clouds. So he has no shot, as you guys mentioned, because we all picked him. But here we are. Let's talk a little bit about intention. And Greg, you're probably right with C's Get Degrees, because Kendrick Carmouche, yes, he always does tend to warm his horses up by themselves, aggressive warm-up, but he really sent this horse into a full-out gallop, and he responded well. He's moving very nicely out there, settled back down with the pony now, but it definitely feels like there's some intention to get C's Get Degrees to the front end today, as we'll take a look at Happy Farm, who I wasn't necessarily enthralled with when he jogged off in front of me, but then Eric Cancel took him away from the pony, and he got a decent warm-up, and he kind of showed a bit more life once he did that. So all things good there, but I kind of am of the same mind as Andy in that he kind of feels like the horse that we saw in the last race, Little Commissioner, in that those, killer instincts have just waned a bit as he's gotten older, Greg.
But still, and he's 8-5 right now from the outside post, the 6 Happy Farm. We mentioned 9-year-old still can run some pretty good figures against decent competition.
I agree. No, I mean, Happy Farm is the most likely, if you think this race is going to come apart, to win. Just wonder if maybe Silly Key is a horse that's on the upswing and he's not. But I also don't think Silly Key's a good gamble at 5-2. I was hoping for a better price, but when you get 4 betting interests, and I'm on my soapbox on this. We need, and we want to at NYRA. Don't make a mistake. We are trying to do this. Get rid of entries. Horse players are big boys and girls. We want to bet the horses we want to bet. Stop with the entries. If you like the 1A, you don't want the 1. If you like the 1, you don't want the 1A. Entries are bad for the game. Get rid of them. They're just, let the horse players decide. We're okay. We can live with losing, I'm the idiot who loved Touch Gold in the Breeders' Cup in 1998. But I didn't want Coronado's Quest or Awesome Again that were entry mates, because I'm smarter than everybody, so I went overseas and got a little 11-1 on him for a couple $100 and watched his entry mates win, and that $13 looked a lot juicier after I lost my $200.
4-5 on the entry in here. Watch what happens early in this race. You talked about the 2 with the rail. Does this horse try and pressure? And obviously the 1 and 1A, both quick. Who's going to seize command of this lead early on in here? As we see C's Get Degrees move in line. Huge figure 2 back. Kendrick Carmouche was aboard that day. He is back aboard today, recently returned from injury. Good to see him back. We're set for the 6. Let's go upstairs. Chris Griffin, the call.
2 out. Amundsen and Happy Farm. Last to load. All in line. All set. And they're off. Speed to the outside from Happy Farm is hard sent, and it's Happy Farm who's got the front. At the rail, here comes C's Get Degrees, and C's Get Degrees had to work, but now puts the neck in front of Happy Farm, who's going to stalk from second for Cancel. Then Amundsen is 3 wide, is now in the 3rd spot, followed by Silly Key, who's only 3 off the lead, and at the back, that's Monday Morning Quarterback as they reach 4 furlongs left to go. Happy Farm, the veteran, is taking it right to C's Get Degrees, and they are head and head as they move into the far turn. They went 22-4 for that opening quarter mile. Here comes Amundsen, has got a nice trip here from 3rd, and Amundsen is coming after that leading duo. Silly Key is right in behind them, is only 2.5 lengths off the lead, and from the back it's Monday Morning Quarterback. They approach a quarter mile left to go. Happy Farm is taking it right to C's Get Degrees. C's Get Degrees is back in front. Happy Farm is in between horses. Amundsen is on the grandstand side, and Amundsen is now put a nose in front. Happy Farm is back to second. C's Get Degrees battles on. Late run here from Silly Key, but is it too late? A 16th to go. It's Amundsen. Happy Farm will not go away. Happy Farm is coming back. Can the 9-year-old get there? It's a photo finish. Amundsen and Happy Farm in a tight photo, then Silly Key in 1 minute 11.08 seconds.
That is a huge effort in defeat for Happy Farm. It goes to Amundsen, his stablemate, battling with the 9-year-old on the front end.
I agree. The old pro Happy Farm, we'll get to him. But Amundsen, we've mentioned that last year, almost just over a year ago, he showed that he could sit off the pace and rate. He did today. Sees would Get Degrees, didn't break that sharply, rushed up, but he benefited from being inside the whole way. He just wasn't good enough. And Happy Farm, Eric Cancel, he acted as his own rabbit. He took it to that one, and he still almost held off Amundsen, but Amundsen looks to have gotten the nod. Silly Key had a perfect trip sitting behind them. On this racetrack, you can't swing 4 wide that early in the turn. I'm not knocking an apprentice. They're young, they're inexperienced. If he had stayed inside and attempted to angle out, I think there's a possibility he would have won.
Amundsen, Jose Lezcano, looked like it was setting up perfectly for him, but then all of a sudden he found himself in a dogfight with Happy Farm.
Yeah, no, this was strange because it looked like, I mean, Amundsen had to go by, and unless Silly Key really kicked in, he wasn't going to lose. And then Happy Farm came back, and keep in mind, Happy Farm was never inside. Now, I'm not conclusively saying we have a huge inside bias, but Happy Farm, I mean, he ran the best race here. If you bet him, you have every right to be frustrated.
1A, 6-4-1. The entry at 4-5. Amundsen saves the day. 10th win of his career. 7-year-old son of Curlin. And Jose Lezcano, who is the man of the hour with a big win yesterday in the Gotham. We'll be back. Stay with us.
Here comes Clariere on the outside, and it's going to be Clariere! Nest, much the best. She won by better than 10 lengths.
And Elite Power gets up to win the sprint. Outside, it's Malathon coming to the wire. Who's it going to be? Here's the wire. Oh, the wish has come true. That one's for you, Cody.
Now more than ever, it's time to get with the program. When shopping for your next race prospect, consider that New York breds start with an advantage. Our New York breds run for serious green. At Saratoga Race Meet, New York bred maidens run for up to $88,000. New York bred allowance horses run for up to $100,000. And New York bred owners can collect awards of up to $20,000 per horse per race. So get back with the program. Seriously.
Gunrunner is the sire of 6 Grade 1 winners from his first crop. He leads all stallions standing in North America by percentage of Grade 1 winners, percentage of Grade 1 stakes horses, percentage of stakes horses, and percentage of stakes winners. Owner Breeder Magazine wrote, 3 Chimneys is home to one of the most exciting young stallions in North America, one that is already eliciting comparisons with Danzig and Mr. Prospector. Gunrunner.
Racetrack Television Network brings you every race, from every track, on every screen, every day. With monthly packages starting as low as $5, RTN gives you great value and access to more live HD streaming and race replays than anyone. Visit RTN.tv today to sign up and watch on almost any device, including Roku and Amazon Fire. RTN has packages that start at $5 per month.
Back with you on America's Day of the Races on our FS2 coverage, brought to you in part by America's Best Racing. For the love of the race, visit americasbestracing.net today. 6th at Aqueduct, and Amundsen gets a beautiful setup in here with C's Get Degrees, the other half of the entry, battling Happy Farm. But Happy Farm dug in and made this very difficult. It's a nice win for Amundsen.
I agree. He was able to rate and get that trip, but he was able to rate and win. Very good ride by Eric Cancel. I like that he was aggressive in here. I sort of said running the best race, but I think his feeling was, from the perspective of Eric and the connections, if we don't go with Happy Farm, these horses are going to control the race up front. We're going to have to do something to give our horse the best chance to win. And even though he didn't win, I think you have to give them a lot of credit for doing what they could to get him his best chance.
Huge effort in defeat, but it's Amundsen who gets the winner's share. $3.70 for the victory, 1:11 the final time here. Jose Lezcano winning move stable. Adam Rice filling in for Linda here with the victory.
Yeah, you know, somebody just sent me a text. There's something about that final time of 1:11.08 and the much slower pace. Feels to me like the clock started a little bit early. There have been races that have been faster paces. I don't want to look at that time.
Okay. Gotham yesterday, 1-turn mile road to the Kentucky Derby, and Jose Lezcano, Raised Cane. Interesting race. A lot was going on in here. We had a loose horse.
Fortunately, everybody was okay.
Slip Mahoney, total, just walked out of the gate and was off the screen most of this race. Makes this huge, giant move in that gold cap. You can see near the back of the pack. He winds up second.
Yeah, he's actually 4 wide right now. Well, you watch the winner. This was a great ride by Jose Lezcano. Now, he'll briefly steady in behind the horse in front of him, but the horse was very athletic and didn't seem to bother him at all, just angled out. But Jose really gave this horse a fabulous ride, making his way to the inside from post 11. But this horse ran. I mean, he beat the field by over 7 lengths. I think the 4th place finisher, the favorite, ran well, considering how quick the pace was, because they were moving up front.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I don't know what to do with Slip Mahoney, because he didn't break that sharply. He drops completely out of the race. He made a big wide move, but he was kind of picking up horses that were tiring, but he didn't run his normal race. Did the winner freak in the mud? Is he making himself a real Derby contender? Got a little faster, but he's making a move up there.
Got a 90 buyer, yeah, for the win. Trainer Ben Colebrook, how about this, by the way? Comes here, saddles the horse, doesn't watch the race. He's got to run immediately, get in a taxi, go to the airport, I believe to go to Turfway on a flight. So he watched it in his car on the cab to the airport.
Right. Got the car, went to the airport, flew to Kentucky. Luckily, as many of you probably know, the Cincinnati airport's right next to Turfway Park. I have to admit, I'm embarrassed to say, I don't know how he did at Turfway that night. I forgot to look. I was going to root for him. I was going to put it on and bet him just to root for him.
That's that road to the Derby here in New York. Still have the wood to come. 100 points to the winner to get into that starting gate. As you said, that figure at least puts him on a path, moving in the right direction. Another little bit jump of improvement, potentially in the wood. Absolutely deserves to be one of the contenders in the Derby.
And I mean, one of the reasons I liked him a little bit in this race was he seemed like a horse that would be better with more distance, and watching his races and seeing them. So I don't think the distance will be a problem for it. The problem might be he's just not quite good enough, but we'll see.
Let's get Maggie's thoughts.
Well, as the jockey Jose Lezcano cited, he's a lighter horse and he's kind of lightly framed. So that makes him fairly pliable, fairly handy, which we saw in the running of yesterday's Gotham, which Ben Colebrook, his trainer, has said that all he really wants is pace to run into. And you know what? At the end of the day, those are 2 very good attributes to have when it comes to the Kentucky Derby. He's already shown he can navigate a full field. He will likely, you would think, get a bit of a pace in the Derby. And so it makes him a horse that has an outsider shot as we head to that first Saturday in May. And Ben Colebrook saying that he's looking at the Bluegrass as well as the Wood Memorial. And he said, well, I can run in my backyard, or I can come back to the track where he's had his biggest performance here at the Big A. I just want to know, did the Uber driver, did he have anything on Raised Cane? Hopefully that guy was a wagering man, Greg.
If he listened to Andy Serling, he did.
I think he was probably wondering who the lunatic was in the back of his car screaming.
Get me to Turfway Park, yeah, and then excited.
Rooting and screaming.
By the way, the horse you were talking about that he went to Turfway for ran second in the Battaglia Scooby Quando.
Wow, that would have been an even more incredible day.
149th Kentucky Derby points leaderboard. 2-year-old champ back atop that list. Forte with that win in the Fountain of Youth. Practical move. Impressive for Tim Yakteen out on the West Coast. Got all those Baffert horses shifted to him, and he wins with a horse that was actually one of his own in his barn originally.
Didn't need him.
Yeah.
He was all set. He's kind of a neat horse, that horse, a horse who was bred by Saul Kuhlman and Chad Brown. Saul, who had, in his group, Maddocat, had run the dam, Act Naughty, and Chad, of course, with his affiliation with Practical Joke, the sire. So they bred that one together and sold as a 2-year-old.
We're going to take a timeout. We'll talk the Oaks prep from yesterday when we come back. It was the other Chad Brown filly Sheeta Beauty, who is now 3 for 3, winning the Busher Invitational. Dylan Davis aboard for the win in those Peter Brandt Silks. We'll take a look back right after this.
And they're off in the Curlin, Florida Derby. After 3 quarters in 112-1, Known Agenda is now on to take over the lead. It's Known Agenda for St. Elias Stable. Florida Derby winner, Known Agenda.
We're back on America's Day at the Races. Thanks for being with us. Greg Wolf, Andy Serling, Maggie Wolfendale, Jonathan Kinchin, and Paula Duca. 6 at Oaklawn, started the pick 4. And we got 4 to 5 on Bet He's Ready, claimed off of Steve Asmussen off a dominant victory last time out and earned a huge figure in that performance. 5.5 furlong sprint coming up for non-winners at 2 Life. Let's get Paul's thoughts.
Yeah, it was a dominant effort. And, you know, Matt Scherr's very, very heady, and he was able to claim this horse right out of that win. Now, he actually beat the favorite that day when he won that race, and he caught a flyer out of the gate. I mean, he literally, that was what the announcer said, he caught a flyer out of the gate, and he just took control early in the race. Now, is he going to be able to do that here? I thought a giant scratch of the 6 Boat Song. When you look at Boat Song's form, you're thinking, okay, the buyer figures are not really up there. This horse had enormous trouble last time and could put pressure on a lot of these horses, so I thought that was a big scratch in here. You know, the 9 Town Branch on the outside for Chris Hartman is a tough horse to figure because, you know, when you have a trainer like Chris that's 32% lifetime and it takes a horse 4 or 5 times to break his maiden, and the horse was in the Mott barn, has been, you know, clear a couple lengths. I have a feeling this horse needs a target. So if Betty's Ready does go to the front end, which it looks like that's going to happen, I would think Town Branch and Francisco area, as you see on the screen, will be laying right to the outside. The problem is I don't think the 7 gets to the front end here. I mean, he's going to have to lay off Commander Carl. Commander Carl's very, very fast. I'm not going to say he's going to be around at the end of this race. So, I mean, how deep is the 9 going to get stacked if the 5 goes? The price on the board, I can't believe the price on the board on Summer in Malibu, the 1. I mean, the race 2 back was good against Cold as Hell. You know, the last race out against Mahamel. Mahamel just loves the slop. The only wins he's ever had is in the slop. They wheeled the horse back very quickly. And some of his best races beat a lot of these in here. So at 9-2, I'll go with the 1. Although, you know, Betty's Ready. If, you know, he improves at all, he's going to be really tough to beat in here.
He was number 10,000, by the way, for trainer Steve Asmussen and claimed out of that race now with Matt Shire.
I like the 9, Town Branch. I think he was on a dead rail last time as well. I like him a lot. He's also going to be favored by post time. I know that seems unlikely, but he will be.
All right, back to New York, 7th at Aqueduct, 6 furlongs. Starter optional claiming field, and there's 2 in here who ran monster races last time out. The 5 Mama's Gold, the 6 Toxic Gray, and it's Toxic Gray taking all the money right now. Let's go to Maggie.
Greg, this is a fascinating race for these horses that, they're newly turned 3-year-olds, and all of them have started for a claiming price in the past. But some, as you mentioned, are coming in also off of massively big efforts. But the one that feels like the legit effort and number is the 6 in here, Toxic Gray. The public, I think, has it right now. And he was battling with a bet off the board, a Brad Cox trainee in Ever So Mischief, who ran his race, who ran well. I mean, it did a lot of the dirty work, but still, Toxic Gray was game and got the job done and prevailed. And if anything, he's come out of that race and now into his 3rd start of his career even stronger, even more bulked up, and certainly is acting a bit bullish here in the paddock, which I like to see. All things good for your current favorite and likely post-time favorite. But another horse that's made a great impression, and I don't know why they do this to us, but naming a Coulter gelding with a filly name, East Coast Girl. It's kind of like Mrs. Beans running out at Oaklawn. I love what I'm seeing from this Ridgeling by Lauban. Really filled out, strong behind the saddle. Did come out of the saddling stall a little bit girthy, so want to watch the way that he warms up, especially behind here. Don't love the way that he's kind of not striding out underneath of himself right now, but physically has made a good impression here overall. But Greg, I'll bring you more updates on what's going on here with East Coast Girl.
All right, Maggie, thank you. Post parade coming up in a moment. That's 2 horses that ran incredibly big figures, and the public heavily leaning on Toxic Gray, who did it against tougher company.
Well, that horse was a private purchase, was bet into that heavy favorite. I'm going to disagree with something Maggie said. There's no confirmation whatsoever at this point on the Toxic Gray figure. I don't have a problem with it. It was a very fast race. But the number 5 horse, there's been confirmation. That figure is 100% accurate based on subsequent performances, based on the figures horses have got running a race. The problem is the horse earned it by riding a gold rail in a bias-aided effort. So I don't know how reliable it is that horse can run that well going back there. But that number itself has been shown to be pretty rock solid.
Let's go back down to Maggie.
Andy, that is what I meant. I meant that the 5 horse did ride a gold rail. That's what I was trying to say, whereas the 6, I feel like, really earned his victory. But going back to East Coast Girl, he sprung that hind shoe. That's why he was walking a bit short. So, guys, we're going to have a little bit of a delay in here while that is repaired on that right hind of East Coast Girl.
Whoa, dangerous. See how powerful those hind legs can be. That is a dangerous job. Kicked that foot back, and the equipment went with it. So still trying to sort out East Coast Girl. As we go back to Oaklawn.
Yeah, she's an interesting player because she has speed in here. Whether or not she can be competitive in here, we'll see how the races run. Yeah, I mean, as you can see that they're close to favoritism between the 7 and 9 right now. And the reason I said I felt the 9 would be favored is she's a heavy favorite in the doubles. And the doubles are normally going to be accurate, and you see so much late money there. I agree with Paulie that the alternative is the 1 Summer in Malibu. I think that horse is a little interesting. There's plenty of speed in here. That horse is going to have to work out that right inside trip. I bet a 9-1 exacta and a little bit of a box as well. I'm against bet he's ready.
Well, a little similar. I mean, obviously this horse have raced a lot more, but what we're seeing in New York, 2 horses that earned pretty big figures. One did it against a lot softer company, right, Maiden Claiming. The other did against Maiden Special. Betty's Ready, the 7 here at Oaklawn, 8-5 favorite, got that big figure for 40 Maiden Claiming.
Right, that's what I'm thinking. You know, the horse, I mean, this is a horse who's made a career failing at short prices. So he got it done last time. Found the right field.
Jonathan, what do you think here in the 6th?
Yeah, I mean, look, the 7 Betty's Ready makes a lot of sense in here. Has fast numbers. You know, I'm not cutting in line to bet horses out of Steve Asmussen's barn, but Matt Shire does an outstanding job. And funny enough, Betty's Ready is the horse that that Steve won his 10,000th race with. Look, I think that's the most likely winner of this race, but I think the alternative would be the one Summer in Malibu down on the inside. Just needs to kind of get away from there. Was slow out of there last time. Maybe it was the racetrack, because that horse has shown speed in a couple of other starts. I think Summer in Malibu would want to be forward in here. That would be the horse I would probably lean on because of the price, but I don't have a problem with the 7.
Neither does the public. 8-5 right now. Bet He's Ready. Looking to go back-to-back, but for a new barn. Matt Shire, Ricardo Santana Jr. sticks aboard. Let's go to Jim Byers for the call. Start of the late pick 4 from Oaklawn.
Got Bet He's Ready popped open the stall doors. Town Branch was balky about going in. There was some anxiousness in the stalls. They're getting everything secured. They're backing Iya out of there. And now Iya being taken back in. Bet He's Ready has been circling behind the gate. It looks like he will now be the last to load. Stand by for a start. They're off. Good start outside for Town Branch. And toward the inside, Iya is heading to the lead now. Bet He's Ready is prominent from between. Commander Carl is racing in 4th. And then Summer in Malibu, followed by the back pair. Switzer and Lucky Dude is trailing the field. Onto the far turn they go. And up front is the New York Invader, Iya. He leads the way by nearly 2 lengths. To Bet He's Ready, Commander Carl on the inside. Town Branch is settled 4th. To the outside, Summer in Malibu is racing in 5th, looking for a bit of room. He's a path or 2 off the rail. Switzer in the red cap is outside of him. Lucky Dude is trailing the field. They move off the turn and come to the 3/16, and Iya brings him into the stretch with the advantage. Here comes Town Branch. He's gaining ground. Summer in Malibu is angling in, and he could be a late threat. As they come to the finish, not only is Summer in Malibu a late threat, but he surges to the lead and puts them away impressively. Town Branch 5 lengths back in 2nd. It got tight for 3rd there between Iya and Switzer.
Summer in Malibu, mid-stretch, just runs away from him. John Court, Thomas Vance.
I don't think Paulie's too happy with the 2-1 that he mentioned as the alternative. I think did Jonathan mention this horse? I think 2 is the alternative, but I didn't think any of us would expect he'd be 2-1. The 9 actually didn't end up the favorite. It was still the 7. Didn't do any running. It felt like Francisco's Arietta was super confident in Town Branch. This horse just blew him away.
Jetpack on. John Court staying to the inside.
Turn back.
Iya hung in there for a bit, and then it was over.
Iya ran a lot better than you and I expected,
Yeah.
I'll tell you that. Neither one of us giant Iya fans. Not sure why David Jacobson shipped this horse all the way down to Arkansas, but he did hang in. But then again, it was 5.5 furlongs.
Nothing from Bet He's Ready.
No, he was dreadful.
Back to Aqueduct and post-parade coming up shortly for this 7th race here against 6 furlongs and even money. On Toxic Gray, Mike Maselli, Eric Cancel, that stalking win last time out. And there's no belief in Mama's Gold at all, even with that big figure, and you talked about it.
Still too big a price,
State-bred,
right?
25 maiden claiming it. Yeah, it was 7-1 right now.
Yeah, I'll tell you my bigger concern, and we're watching Toxic Gray now. We'll get back to Mama's Gold in a second. Toxic Gray ran terrific, and no knock. And for people who don't remember, ever so mischievous, this was a $600,000 China Horse Club purchase that was resold for $80,000, went to Brad Cox, and came here at 3-5 like the next best thing. They were right. The horse ran a 91 buyer and lost a maiden race here in February. Not too many horses can say that in the history of horse racing. And this horse was purchased out of a maiden 40, took money into the favorite to be 7-1, and ran super to beat him. So at least you know he doesn't need that things go his own way. Whereas what worries about Mama's Gold is, why did Mike Maker and Buff Bradley drop this horse from for a quarter? There must be a reason.
Yeah. Cam Duke went by Dylan Davis. Rider change on the 1. Here's Peros with Jose Lezcano.
Cam Duke rode a gold rail last time. I think that the Rice barn, Adam Rice, is going to win this race. I don't know if it's Peros or Lenzen Day, one of them.
Shoe issues solved, apparently, with East Coast Girl.
She has a lot of speed. She doesn't break that sharply. And with the presence of Mama's Gold, among others, they may be going too fast for her.
So here's Mama's Gold. Matty overrides. 21-length win.
Listen, he rode the bias, but he rode it spectacularly, and horses have run well out of it. Different situation. I wonder if the Apprentice is keeping some of the money away as well.
4 to 5 on Toxic Gray.
Yeah, this horse ran very well. I think he's the horse to beat in here, but are you surprised at this price? And I picked him. I picked him second. But
a little bit. Yeah. 32 to 1 sounds spooky. Went by, and here's the Valenzen Day.
I like Valenzen Day. He had no chance in the Jerome. He's getting back to a more realistic spot where you think he can win.
And Swifty Devil outside, 14 to 1. Manny Franco.
This field's so tough. He ran an 80 by or 2 back, and he's 14 to 1.
All right, so let's go back to the 5. Mama's Gold. Dave is in a couple of New York bred maiden specials, and then, as you said, Mike Maker drops him in for New York bred 25 maiden claiming, and then runs off the screen.
I mean, he comes off a long layoff and runs a 63 buyer. Why wouldn't you think you could win a maiden special weight with this horse? And the way he ran bias or not, obviously could have. Yet Mike Maker and Buff Bradley, who owns the horse and bred him, these are sharp guys. They dropped him in. Is he a horse? There's somewhere. Is it breathing? Is it an issue? There's a reason they dropped him. And in a race which may feature a more contentious pace, you wonder if that could take a toll. Now, having said that, at anywhere close to his current 7 to 1, if you like him, you should be going to the window. I don't want to talk you off him. I assume the horse would be 2 to 1. I don't think he's a big bet against. He just went to 5 to 1. He's going to be much shorter.
JK, what are your thoughts here on these two that ran the lights out performance last out, the 5 or the 6?
Yeah, look, I completely agree. The 5, I thought the 5 was going to be a much shorter price, and I think that the horse will continue to come down. So I don't want to get carried away kind of falling in love with the 5 to 1 that I'm seeing right now, because I think it's probably going to be closer to 3 to 1. If that's the situation and the 6 stays right at even money or so, 6 to 5, something like that, I think the 6 is the horse you want, Toxic Gray. The horse that horse beat last time was a huge buzz horse who actually I think does have a lot of talent and ran well that day. Toxic Gray just happened to run better. And Toxic Gray took some sneaky money as well. That horse was 7 to 1 in that race, into the teeth of the next fastest horse in the world and some other kind of higher connections. I just felt like this is a really talented horse, and he's drawn outside the main competition of the 5 Mama's Gold. So as much as I want to get excited about the 5 to 1 that you see right now on Mama's Gold, I just don't trust it. And for connections that. Chad Summers is having a good meet right now, but historically his overall numbers aren't great. So you wonder, can he kind of continue to maintain that form off of Mike Maker, who plays the claiming game extremely well? Maggie?
Yeah, JK, I'm in the same boat as you. And furthermore, I keep looking back at what is blatantly on paper. Maiden special weight versus state bred maiden 25. Yeah, but to be fair to Mama's Gold, he is warming up really well. I didn't really care for him much in the paddock, but he came to life when he got out on the racetrack, which is always good to see. And I do think the apprentice, Matty Oliver, is keeping your price elevated a little bit, as well as the other connections. So, fine. A horse that's just really come to hand is number 1, Cam Duke, does pick up Dylan Davis and the rail position. And I would be willing, as Andy mentioned, with number 9, Swifty Devil, to give him another shot. He was sent hard last time out in the mud at Laurel on the rail. You don't want to be on the rail at Laurel. And now he's drawn outside. Big, good-looking son of Speister. I would revert back to his start 2 back as a better indication of this horse's ability. Greg?
Pick the 8 in here, Valenzen Day. He wasn't Sue the Jerome. They took a shot off the claim. I thought his prior races were solid, and he was an interesting horse who can be a bit forward but doesn't necessarily need a lead in here. And I thought getting back into a more realistic spot. I think both of the horses for the Rice Barn, Adam Race, are dangerous in here, but I do agree that Toxic Gold's one to beat.
Saw a talented sprinter earlier at Oaklawn for Brad Cox, Corona Bolt. This horse, Toxic Gray, the 6, actually earned a bigger figure thoroughgraph-wise than any of the prior numbers Corona Bolt had earned.
Well, he was 4 wide, too, that day, and it was also a fast race. Listen, This is a really interesting race. I've been looking forward to this race.
Can he do it again? Toxic Gray, the 6. Mama's Gold, that big effort, too. There he is off that maiden claiming 21-length victory. Now comes a lot tougher test. Let's go to Chris Griffin for the call.
Mama's Gold and Swifty Devil. All in line. All set. And they're off. Down towards the inside, East Coast Girl has got early speed, but his hard scent has got plenty of company. There's Mama's Gold, who's going to be in the 2 path. Out far wide there is Swifty Devil, who's now challenging for that 2nd position. Toxic Gray is now going to check and shuffle back there and now starts to climb. It's a tough trip for the favorite early, as now the favorite is back to 4th. Down towards the inside, here comes Cam Duke with a run as they reach 4 furlongs left to go. Peros is towards the back end of the field with Belenzende, and the trailer Sounds Spooky. 3 across the racetrack here, and they fly up front. They went 22-1 for a pumped-up opening quarter. East Coast Girl, Mama's Gold, and a 3-wide run from Swifty Devil. Toxic Gray is now straightened up, had some trouble on the backstretch. A 4-wide run, and Toxic Gray is coming after the leaders. Peros is following that move, and the blue cap is going to go 5 wide on the grandstand side, and even Cam Duke is in the mix as well. It's East Coast Girl who's in front. Cam Duke is splitting rivals here, but Toxic Gray is in front. It's Toxic Gray who's got the lead. Peros is rolling down the grandstand side. Cam Duke is in for the fight as well with East Coast Girl. It gets tight down towards the inside for a final 16th. Toxic Gray is in front. East Coast Girl is not done. Peros on the outside. Toxic Gray gets the victory. Toxic Gray over East Coast Girl. Peros and Cam Duke in 1 minute 11.93 seconds.
Toxic Gray does it again, back-to-back, had to fight for this victory.
And I'm going to say this is a much more impressive win than I think some will suggest, because horses are not making successful and good moves outside. Think of how well East Coast Girl just ran. I mean, he set a wicked pace, the race fell apart, and yet he battled right down the wire on the rail. Think about Peros, the way he was moving. He didn't look like he'd just be no worse than 2nd. He looked like a cinch. But he angled out, drifted out in the middle of the track, and could not gain. We've got an extreme bias. It worked in the favor of the 4 who ran well, and it worked against the winner and the 3rd place finisher. This winner is a very nice and promising horse.
And was in a bit of a tight spot on the backstretch. Kind of had to back out of there, too.
Yeah, no, he did. And I mean, they got a good setup. They were moving up front. But I think this horse was never anywhere near the rail. And in my opinion, this is a very hard thing to do on this racetrack, and I think Peros really demonstrated that as he made that move and looked like he was going to run. And for what it's worth, Mama's Gold, he was last.
4-5 favorite. First time in against winners. Does it again here, 6-4-3-1. Mike Maselli, talented 3-year-old sprinter here. Owned by George Raymond, Christopher Borducci. And it's Toxic Gray, the winner in the 7th, with the 8th to come in a moment. And take another look. We're looking off screen here at the head-on to see if there's anything going on the stretch.
Well, that's not really anything to see a real head-on to see it. I don't know what would be the inquiry that we would see? The 6 coming over?
Not sure.
Boy, and East Coast Girl ran very, very well, but I do think the bias had a great deal to do with that. Think of how Cam Duke outran the odds. Okay.
All right, so here's our head-on.
The winner's 3 wide, the green. East Coast Girl, he's on the rail. Okay.
Make things tight on that horse in the red cap. Take away that ground.
Yeah, I'd have to see it with a pan, too. I don't believe there's any reason for a change based on that. But I do applaud the stewards for looking, and not surprisingly,
and that was Cam Duke, right? So that was taking away the ground of the 1 potentially, is what this inquiry objection is about.
Let's see if you look at in conjunction with the pan. Okay, is there any way, guys, we can show the pan of the last 1/8 of a mile of the race? Because I'm just
one more
curious.
look.
This is the pan.
So, lime green cap, your eventual winner. And this one gets squeezed.
Well, I don't know why Eric is continuing to hit right-handed, first of all. that's another issue. Because he did come in. I don't believe it had any effect on the order.
You don't
finish.
think so?
I can listen. I don't condone that kind of riding, though this isn't a situation where Eric was hurting or doing that. Probably just a little overzealous with the right hand. I don't know. You know, I could understand the argument, but I think it would not be a great benefit certainly for the players who to bet Toxic Gray, who was much the best if he came down.
All right, so head on right-hand side of your screen, pan view on the left.
Our,
And again, on the right, that lime green cap starting to come in is the issue.
our crack crew, you guys are the best. So he's coming over. He's definitely coming over. I mean,
significant there, yeah. And again,
was he clear? He wasn't really clear. If he was clear, he was barely clear.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, this has happened to Eric a couple of times. It happened in Saratoga. He got taken down, Saratoga Chrome, in a maiden race a couple of years ago. You know, needlessly hitting with probably the wrong hand.
Yeah, I mean, as you said, that's makes it even worse. Going to the right hand with the crop does
Right.
not help his cause.
Right. And it didn't help him anyway. Why wouldn't he be using the left hand? I mean, so you don't get, and that's, you're riding the best horse, you're going by. The only thing that can happen is something bad. So go to the left. Because he's definitely coming in. He'd already come in from the 4 to the 3. You know, it's not like he hadn't already come in. And listen,
There goes right-handed.
Yeah.
Starts to come in. Corrects a little.
It's a pretty insignificant one. I'm not saying nothing happened, and I'm sure there's some people who are frustrated, and I get that. But I think in the general, broader sense, this would not be a horse that would warrant a DQ. If you want to fine Eric for coming over, for using the right hand, that's fine. But I don't know why the public, especially the bettors, are supposed to be punished in a situation. I guess the argument is some people are going to say, well, it could have been 6-4-1. Okay, I guess that is possible. I can see that argument a little bit, and that is something they do look at. So I guess it's possible. This would be a decision that I won't have a strong opinion on one way or the other. If I were a steward, I would leave it up and I would fine the rider. Nothing significant either, by the way.
There's the man that lodged that objection. Dylan Davis, he was on Cam Duke.
Oh, yes. No, Adorno is on Cam Duke.
That was a rider change.
Oh, okay, thank you. Well, that's why you're here and I'm not. That's why you're in charge. Thank you. Yeah, and you know, once again, getting away from the inquiry, think about how much 1 and 4 outran their odds because they spent almost the entire race on the rail. That's a bias.
All right, so another look from this pan view. Again, lime green cap, this gray. And Eric, I believe just once, right? Goes to the right hand. That's when the horse came in, and that was the worst of it. Does it hurt the one's chances here that he didn't make up any ground after that? Or that's...
I mean, what do I think? I think that nobody benefits other than the very fortunate win by East Coast Girl if there's a DQ here. The finish here, in my opinion, was going to be 6-4-3-1, regardless of what he did. But I'm not in the steward's booth, and I'm not going to argue with somebody who says that there was a foul committed here. I don't believe it's a foul that's best adjudicated on the racetrack. No change. I agree with our stewards in this
All right,
case.
so the result will stand.
It hasn't changed, but the announcer, if you're not hearing, has said that there's no change.
6-4-3-1. Toughest to sweat out ever if you've crossed that wire first, or if you wager a multi-race wager and a live to a horse like this. Not fun times.
No, and you can see Eric Cancel was breathing a sigh of relief, and who would blame him? And the other thing is, you'd like to try to keep him out like this, right? I mean, this horse is okay.
Yes,
This horse is better than that finish looks. I think this horse is okay. Happy for Mike Maselli as well.
All right, so back aboard, and it will be picture time for Toxic Gray. 4-5 favorite. Survives a battle down the stretch and an inquiry and objection to get that win. We'll have the 8th for you when we return. We will talk about the fastest 6 furlongs run here this winter. When we come back, it happened in yesterday's Tom Fool with a big effort from Little Vic. Stay with us.
Warfront. On the racetrack, his accomplishments included this victory in the Vanderbilt at Saratoga.
It will be Warfront to win it by 2.5 lengths.
Now this son of Danzig ranks among the world's elite sires. With over 100 stakes winners, Warfront's progeny includes some of the world's most talented runners, both at home and abroad. Ranked #1 by percentage of lifetime stakes winners, graded stakes winners, and Grade 1 winners. Warfront, standing at Claiborne Farm.
Who you betting on? How about an app created specifically for horse racing? Naira Bets. We specialize in thundering hooves, fist pumping, and boosting your bankroll with robust weekly promotions. And offer betting tips from actual horse racing experts. Bet all day and night, nationwide. Get the action and thrill of horse racing with Naira Bets.
Harris Farms, proudly standing Smiling Tiger, a triple Grade 1 winner, defeating Breeders' Cup champions Dancing in Silks and Emma Zombie. A leading California sire with over $9.7 million in progeny earnings, with 94 winners in 2021 and graded stakes superstars like Spice Perfection.
Spice Perfection wins the Grade 1 La Brea.
And Tiger Dad. Smiling Tiger, a leading California sire, standing at Harris Farms. It pays to be Cal bred.
Tampa Bay Downs has a rich thoroughbred horse racing history in Florida dating back to 1926. Celebrities such as Babe Ruth, Jack Dempsey, and John Ringling all attended opening day. In 1981, Hall of Fame jockey Julie Crone won her first career race here, and in 2007 we saw Street Sense win the Tampa Bay Derby and go on later that year to win the Kentucky Derby. Featuring full fields, great turf racing, and a 15% takeout on our Pick 5. Tampa Bay Downs is live racing every Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
We're back at America's Day at the Races on FS2, brought to you where you can play it all at Naira Bets. Go to nairabets.com and bet any track, anywhere, anytime, including Oaklawn. Let's go there for the 7th. They have a restricted maiden special weight. No one's won in this field just yet. Horses are sold for $75,000 or less the last time that they sold at auction. That's the condition here. And we're going to begin with Sacred Wish from the inside, who was just third behind one of the main contenders in the feature coming up in the next race, Punch Bowl.
Based on the debut, this horse actually I thought ran pretty well. Had a bit of trouble in there, legitimately, 2 to 3 lengths, I would say, of trouble. This is the horse to beat.
First-time starter went by Boogie Woogie Gal, and here's Valiant Praise.
Yeah, Valiant Praise has had a lot of chances in here. I suppose it's impossible for a piece.
Charlize, start number 2, 13-1 on the debut.
Gee, I wonder where this horse got the name, actually. A horse that didn't take much money and ran behind Punch Bowl. We'll see the next race.
Ron Moquette with a second-time starter ratified.
Ron maybe run better second time out. Did catch a sealed track first time debut.
John Court just won the last. He's on Pavoski here.
Looks like he's overmatched.
I'm So Funny at 15-1 for Larry Jones.
I don't think it's that funny the way he ran first time out. Did nothing, has no speed at all.
Yeah, the 1, the 10, it looked like it was, the race goes through those two. Brad Cox off the claim.
But this one is strictly this price because it was claimed by Brad Cox, and he ran fine in that race, but not nearly as well as Sacred Wish, who in my opinion should be favored.
And Divinely Bolt, you can make a case for 2 outside Chris Hartman.
I agree with you. He's been running against some tougher horses.
Cutting back.
She is, excuse me.
In distance, thank you. As we go to Paulie.
Yeah, Greg, when you look at this race, it does look like 3 fillies can win this race. So I'm with Andy here that the 1 horse is the horse to beat, because if you go back and you look at that replay of that race, if you like Punch Bowl, you know, Punch Bowl didn't break well that day, and the 1 did Sacred Wish. Now, Kylie Jordan had the rail, and she's one of those jockeys. She is not scared coming up the rail, and she actually brought the horse up the rail a little bit later on in the race. And she got steadied way back, and actually she got steadied back to the point where Punch Bowl was. Like, you could see her right there. She's just keeps getting steadied back. She's the 3 right there. She keeps getting steadied back. Meanwhile, Punch Bowl's already caught up to her. So when they go back to the inside and she starts to re-rally, I thought she ran a giant race. She's the 2, excuse me. But if you look, now she's basically heads up with Punch Bowl, and she got put behind the 8 ball. So I think she, could be the one to beat in here. Like you guys were saying, you could see now, watch her get the rail, and she's able to get through that spot. Punch Bowl already had the sweeping move on the complete outside. Now, I get it that this horse did outfinish the one Sacred Wish, but I thought Sacred Wish got backed up, and you could argue just ran just as good a race as Punch Bowl. So I think that's the horse to beat in here. When you look at some of the others in here, yeah, Wreaking Havoc, I'm in agreement with Andy a tiny bit. Like, this horse is 2-1. Why? I guess this horse been claimed by Brad Cox. Came out here with a full cup over his right eye. To be honest with you, I couldn't tell if he's blind of his right eye or not, but it was completely covered in his right eye. Both of them were, so completely covered blinkers, and maybe this horse has been working well in the morning. And then the 11 is a major player in here. 2 back, the horse Pate is a nice little filly. She came back to ring a bang-up second. And then, they ran long last time. I don't think that's what they wanted. She was swimming in that slop that day. I think with the draw on the outside, I do like the 1, but I do think the 11's, going to give her all she can handle. I thought this race was 111, to be honest, when I first got here. I did not foresee the 10 to be the favorite. But if you look in the Will Pays, she is the third choice.
Meanwhile, there's the third of the, well, depending on what you think, but one of the 3 who's certainly the major players in this race, Divinely Bolt. Chris Hartman cut back in distance, and that effort 2 back last time sprinting against a pretty good one too, named whether it's Pate or Pate. That horse would be what, 3 to 5 in here?
We got too many of those in here. Yes. No, I would agree with Paulie. I love the turn back, getting back to a fast track. I don't like the Divinely Bolt's had so many chances, but I don't disagree with Paulie.
Let's go to JK.
Yeah, I think the 11 is interesting as well. That last race kind of fell apart, and Divinely Bolt kind of moved in the middle of that race. And a lot of times, we look at races that fall apart and think that, only the horses that are forwardly placed are the ones that were getting the disadvantageous trip when a race falls apart. But sometimes it's those hidden moves where the race is fast and someone moves in the middle of the race. And I feel like Divinely Bolt did that last time. It was on a sloppy racetrack, going a little bit longer. But I do think that Divinely Bolt makes a lot of sense in here. A little bit of a tough draw from the outside. Going to have to probably lose some ground. But I think the way that this horse finished, I think that shouldn't be, a couple races back shouldn't be too big of an issue. But the 1 Sacred Wish on the inside, this is a horse that, from a speed figure standpoint, absolutely deserves to be the favorite. But my issue is that 1 figure was on a sloppy racetrack. Sometimes those races are a little bit hard to make figures for. The tracks can change throughout the day. They can be a little bit more moisture. They can kind of start to dry out a little bit. And sometimes figures can be tricky that day. So I'm going to need Sacred Wish to come back and prove that was a fast number. And drawn down on the inside for a horse that doesn't have a lot of speed, I'm going to go towards the outside with the 11 Divinely Bolt.
Which, yeah, and a couple of scratches really is only post 9.
Yeah, I don't worry about that as much, it seems, but yeah.
Well, I'm just saying you should be
no,
less
yeah,
concerned.
No, you're right. No, you're absolutely right. You're saying it. Absolutely. I don't worry much about the position. I think the horse should get position in here. It'll depend how much they speed goes, but I think the field could spread a little bit, and I don't think this horse rates end up being that wide. And the board is normalizing there. The early money for Brad Cox is diminishing.
All right, we'll get back here when they load up. Let's return to New York. Toxic Gray, back-to-back wins, had to survive an inquiry and objection after making things tight on Cam Duke, but the victory upheld at 4 to 5.
Yeah, no, this is a talented runner. I'll be interested to see what they do with this horse next. Is this a horse? Obviously they have a starter allowance condition. Not this one. He's a non-winner. A 3 lifetime at this point. Are they looking for an allowance? A non-winner's a 1. It's a pretty good horse. We could see that horse moving up and doing some okay things.
All right, we'll get to the 8th in a bit, approaching the 8-minute mark to race 8 at Aqueduct, but we're going to load up here at Oaklawn for the late pick 3. 8 to 5, so Public digging in their heels on Sacred Wish here, off who won that race she's coming out of and ran a credible 3rd Punch Bowl. We're going to see in the feature next.
But it's getting close. I mean, Divinely Bolt's now 2 to 1, and listen, I mean, we all basically have the same opinion. I think Jonathan, Paul, you, and I, with the 1 and 11, and they're focusing on them. I mean, do you see anybody else? I guess you could argue the firster for Joe Sharp, considering how much money they're taking a little money at 8 to 1, but not exactly jumping on it. I mean, Charlize ran a wet track first time. Ratified ran a wet track first time, but he just didn't do any running.
Yeah, it's hard. Those who've run, it's really hard to find. I guess Yeah.
I just didn't.
I wanted to make a case for the 4, just getting back to dirt, but those figures are so slow.
I know, that's the thing. I don't think the horse is any better on dirt, to be honest, and had some chances. His horses lost at 5-2 and 2-1, and they were high-level claiming prices. I just thought the horse would have to improve for Ken McPeak.
I wanted to add how deep dive did you go into the nightcap? Because the potential for, I thought if it's not Classy Socks the 10 or Ike Wazowski, there's a few others that maybe could make this an interesting pick 3.
Well, as you well know, because you know me well, there's nothing that gets me more excited than an Arkansas maiden race, an Arkansas bred maiden race.
Garhole won yesterday.
I know he did 2-5. Greg, you got all the money. Did you load up the whole account? Go on him. Good call. Greg loves Garhole. I was trying to make for the case for the 1, the second-time starter who did a little bit of running late. Thought he was sort of an interesting horse second time out because I didn't want to get too enthused. Wicked Prince kind of, I don't know. That figure, you look at the figure the 9 and the 10 ran, right? Doesn't it stick out like a sore thumb? That 69 for Classy Socks and the 61 for Wicked Prince, they look aberrationally high. I wonder how reliable that number is.
Maybe the 11 sneaky in there. I thought Rudiano, a horse you could throw in.
0 for 11. The horse I'm going to lose a couple dollars on is the 1, Mad Mardigan, who I thought broke a little slowly, got totally dropped out. I thought was a little interesting. I watched the replay of the race, but maybe I'm just stretching. What about the 2, Sir Peel? Sorry.
Jim Byers, the call. Here's the 7th from Oaklawn.
They're off. Valiant Praise came out quickly, but now immediately the firster, Boogie Woogie Gal, eagerly sprinting off to the lead, and Sacred Wish gets into a good position. Pavoski is 3rd, Charlize 4th, Ratified in between rivals is 5th, and then Valiant Praise, who caught a flyer out of there, settled in 6th toward the inside. Divinely Bolt is outside of her, and then 2.5 to I'm So Funny. Wreaking Havoc is trailing the field as they're past the half-mile pole, making their way around the turn. It's Boogie Woogie Gal, Isaac Castillo, enjoying the front end here by a length. And up on the outside is Sacred Wish, not trapped inside this time. She's racing in 2nd with Charlize toward the inside. And now Divinely Bolt has been able to inch up here, and she turns for home while 4 wide. Outside of her is Ratified. Pavoski down the middle of the racetrack through the stretch here. Here is Sacred Wish moving up to Boogie Woogie Gal. Boogie Woogie Gal, the inside, and Sacred Wish. Sacred Wish takes over the lead, then Boogie Woogie Gal and Divinely Bolt. Sacred Wish, second time the charm, draws clear by nearly 4. Over Divinely Bolt, Boogie Woogie Gal. Ratified was 4th.
Sacred Wish pulls clear late. Kylie Jordan, and second time out winner. And again, it was Punch Bowl who beat her in the debut. And we're going to see Punch Bowl in the feature next.
What an easy game. All the geniuses around here coming up with this chalk number.
Post parade for the 8th at Aqueduct. Here's Temperamental at 5-1.
I like the Temperamental, draws the rail, has been running against better. I picked her, and I'm going to have to bet her if she's 5-1.
Jackie Davis on Betty's Smile, 6-year-old mare.
She'll be with a bias. She is the controlling inside speed, but she's a little hard to like.
18-1 on the 3 next door for Jimmy Ferraro.
Yeah, this horse will probably be stalking towards the inside, so maybe it moves her up, but she doesn't look good enough.
7-2 Bavarian Cream, Dylan Davis for Mark Hennig.
Horse is going to probably have an outside trip. Not for me.
Broke her maiden on the turf, got DQ'd, and then came back last time out and did it on the dirt. Left-leaning Lucy at 9-1.
Off the claim from Rob Atras. She should be chasing outside, so that diminishes her chances, in my opinion.
Banker's daughter, Manny Franco.
Her last figure is aberrationally high for her at 6.5 furlongs, so other races give her no chance.
And here's my first love, 7-5 favorite, Eric Cancel.
Definitely the horse to beat on paper with her faster figs, but she's got to do it at 6.5 furlongs. She's got to do it with an outside post, and she's got to do it to try to close. All factors that make me think she's very vulnerable in this spot.
Short price, and people see that Tough Street race she's coming out of, too, and probably upgrade her a little bit.
Yeah, Tough Street. Tough Street actually ran a nice figure, like mid-80s, I think.
3 minutes to post here in the 8th. So 3-2, My First Love, who can lay close as well. But this is going to be cutting back. So we'll see. Eric Cancel, usually not the most aggressive.
I just don't know how he's going to, she doesn't have any speed. She's going to be well back here. we'll see if she can work out the right trip. I just hope with Temperamental that the rider just sort of stays inside with her and, and kind of just takes advantage of getting the rail and tries to, as the race falls apart, saving ground will help her cause.
All right, with more on the favorite, let's go to Maggie.
Yeah, checking in with My First Love here, guys. And while she ran okay behind Tough Street, who won very nicely yesterday, you look at the short comment line and it says bled. And just to kind of shed a little bit of light on that, horses, when you scope them primarily, there's kind of a scale. They may have bled a 1 out of 5, which isn't much. But for them to note it on the form, it means that they came back with visible blood. From the outside, looking at their nose, there was blood on her nose. So that's typically a 5 out of 5. And she's had just a little over a month since she's last run. For me, I'd like to see her away for 3 months. I just don't like to see it, especially at a short price. And I'm not in love with the way that she looks either. So she'll beat me today. But let's talk about the horse that looks the best. I don't love her on paper, but that's number 4, Bavarian Cream. As Andy said, she probably doesn't pull the right kind of trip today, given the way the track's working, and that probably falls into the lap of Temperamental. So yes, Temperamental is a very viable alternative, but to just be a little bit different here, and Lord knows that when Andy and I team up on a horse, we don't win, either of us. But Bavarian Cream, maybe the light bulb's going off. Maybe things are clicking, because physically, it definitely looks that way. She has grown up. She has filled out. Looks as though she's thriving right now here for Mark Hennig as she does come back off the win. And sometimes, Greg, that just leads to more wins.
7-2 right now. Thank you, Maggie. Temperamental with Jaime Torres for Rudy Rodriguez from that inside post. I think all of us have reasons to say My First Love, no thank you at that price, especially.
Yeah, I don't want that horse. Those are really interesting points that Maggie was making, talking about having bled and coming back on really relatively short rest. For Jimmy Ferraro, by the way, he's got points to get the Kentucky Derby now with Bankers. I'm sorry, horse ran 3rd in yesterday's General Banker. Jimmy Ferraro.
Yeah.
He'd be headed to the Derby. It's kind of cool.
Very cool. Love to see new faces get into that starting gate.
Bred.
Post time coming up. Let's go to JK.
Yeah, I also don't have a problem with the 7, fading the 7, My First Love. The bleeding part is obviously important, but just based on last time, the pace wasn't particularly fast. This horse was forward and couldn't finish the race. It's always a negative for me. I like the 4, Bavarian Cream. Came in last time off of a short layoff. Hadn't run since November. And then ran well. And the way that the pace figures kind of worked out, it feels like this horse is going to appreciate cutting back from the 7 to the 6.5. Those pace figures, it seemed like she was kind of slowing a little bit late. She was wide all the way around there, too, lost a lot of ground. I think Bavarian Cream is one in here at 7-2 that makes a ton of sense.
All right, JK, good luck. Thanks. That's a 4. Yeah, it's 7-2 on the board. Dylan Davis for Mark Hennig, coming off that New York-bred maiden special win at 7 furlongs.
I like Temperamental. I like the inside position. I think the horse has been running against significantly better horses in recent efforts and fits well in here off her recent form.
I like Banker's Daughter a bit.
Okay.
See if Manny Franco can go back-to-back on this 6-year-old mare. It took a long time to get a last couple of wins. 3 for 26 life. There's the big favorite. 6-5. My First Love. Eric Cancel looking to go back-to-back. Let's go to Chris Griffin.
All set. And they're off. Left-leaning Lucy breaks well, so does Meta Vilioso as hard sent in between horses. At the rail is Betty Smile. They're 3 across the racetrack. Also moving forward is Banker's Daughter. There's plenty of pace on here as they are 4 across the track. In behind them is Temperamental. Is going to save ground, is in the 5th position. In between horses comes Bavarian Cream, and the trailer, My First Love, is at the back end of the field, but only 2.5 lengths would cover them all. Betty Smile is in front. Meta Vilioso, the 2 long shots. They duke it out here as they approach 4 furlongs left to go. Trying to split rivals. Bavarian Cream has got some run, but nowhere to go right now. Same thing goes for Temperamental. Banker's Daughter and Manny Franco, they get the jump. They're 3 wide and they come after the leaders. They went 23 seconds flat for a pressured opening quarter mile. It is Meta Vilioso who's in front. Betty Smile has asked for the effort down towards the inside. Now Bavarian Cream is in the clear. Temperamental's trying to follow that move as they chase Banker's Daughter. Metavilioso has still got a nose in front. Bavarian Cream, though, and Dylan Davis are in the clear, and here they come. It is now Bavarian Cream who has kicked for home, and Bavarian Cream is up by a length and a half. Metavilioso is down towards the inside with Temperamental. Late run here on the grandstand side from My First Love. Bavarian Cream was pumped up going into the turn, has a 16th to go, needed some clear running room, and Bavarian Cream will get the score. Bavarian Cream over Temperamental. Then came Metavilioso and My First Love in 1 minute 18.25 seconds.
Bavarian Cream goes off at 3-1. Dylan Davis for Mark Hennig, and back-to-back wins on the dirt for this 5-year-old mare.
Good trip, given how this race developed, because none of the horses that were inside really had a real chance here, and she's in a good position and got it done. Good picks by Jonathan and Maggie. Temperamental sucked up for second. She was never going to beat this horse. She was second best. Favorite did no running, but you can't make that kind of run, cutting back and coming back in the short rest off bleeding. Probably not a great idea. But not that short, just 6 weeks. But as Maggie said, often wait longer.
4-1-3-7, Bavarian Cream, Bayern, 5-year-old mare, just the second one of her career, 11 starts, and they both come in her last 2 outings, both here at Aqueduct. We'll have the prices for you when we come back. Nightcap still to come, and our feature next in Hot Springs at Oaklawn Park. Stay with us.
Would you believe that champions weren't measured by rings, but by a crown? That the history books were written on dirt? That the greatest of all time was a horse?
He is moving like a tremendous machine.
Experience the magic at this year's Belmont Stakes as we honor the 50th anniversary of Secretariat's legendary Triple Crown Triumph. Join the celebration at Belmont Park on Saturday, June 10th. Tickets on sale now at BelmontStakes.com.
Back on America's Day at the Races, our program brought to you in part by legendary Claiborne Farm. 100 years of doing the usual, unusually well feature in the books at Aqueduct. Winter Circle lead-in brought to you by Fasig-Tipton Digital, North America's #1 digital auction platform for thoroughbreds. Fasig-Tipton Digital, the newest from the oldest. Learn more at digital.fasig-tipton.com. Bavarian Cream, 2 wins today. Dylan Davis teams up here with trainer Mark Hennig for the win.
Just powered away from the field, make $3 look like a big overlay. And basically the other 2 logical horses, if you were looking to try to beat the 7, ran 1-2. The exacta paid $41 for $2. So beat the 7. The third horse, whose name I have trouble pronouncing, dug in well. Did save some ground, but dug in well.
I don't even want to give it a shot. Bavarian Cream, 2 for 11 now. This 5-year-old mare, and getting back to dirt been a good thing. $8.60 for the win. 4-1-3 finish. All right, we're going to look back to yesterday. We talked about the Gotham on the road to the Derby, road to the Kentucky Oaks in the Busher Invitational. Chad Brown sent 2 3-year-old fillies out in this race, and it was not the one everyone was expecting coming up with a win. She's not been doing it with big, flashy numbers, but she just continues to win.
Yeah, I mean, she was the horse that handled the distance the best. That's Sheet of Beauty. Obviously, the Speed, whose name is escaping my soon-to-be elderly brain, looked like a winner. And she opened up in the stretch, and she looked like she was going to draw off to a comfortable win. But the distance got her at the end as they really slowed up in the last quarter, and now she set volatile pace. No.
You're talking about the other Chad Brown?
Yeah, this Zerati is Rob Falcone. The second place finisher, the 6th. Asset Purchase. And Sheet of Beauty, I mean, she did improve. I mean, she was running low 60 buyers. She ran a 77, I think, winning. I wonder if Asset Purchase had trouble with it. You know, I heard some comments from Chad Brown saying the kind of things I usually say. They should have used her speed maybe a little bit earlier instead of just stalking that slow pace and allowing the field to come together, maybe opening up. I don't disagree with that kind of concept. I wonder if at time Asset Purchase is going to be better. I mean, if she's good enough to run in races like our Prioress, our Test, short distance wouldn't be a bad thing, because I don't think she got better with distance. But Sheet of Beauty, she got better with distance, and she's getting faster, and it's a long year. And if she can keep improving, she can throw her hat in the ring, because we saw a big upset in the prep down at Gulfstream last week.
Potentially next the Gazelle for Sheet of Beauty. I didn't realize this till I just read it. Her third dam, one of my favorites. Multiple Grade 1 winner Dream Supreme, who was an amazing sprinter owned by George Steinbrenner back in the day.
Yeah, she was. She won the Test and the Ballerina in the same year, when they used to run the Test much earlier in the meet.
Let's go to Maggie, get her thoughts on the Busher.
Yeah, yesterday kind of going in, Greg, I felt as though there were several short price horses that would struggle with the mile, including Zerati as well as Asset Purchase. And when you watch Asset Purchase come off the turn, you might notice that she's already on her outside lead. When horses run around the turn, they are on their inside left lead, and then at about the quarter pole, they'll swap to their outside. But what I've noticed throughout galloping horses and watching races is that horses that have that distance limitation are going to switch early. They're trying to find more energy, and I think that's what we saw with Asset Purchase, in that she's a filly that is definitely not built for distance. She wants less, and like Andy said, I hope to see her in races like the Test later on in the year. But Sheet of Beauty, on the other hand, she's one that settles, she gets into stride, and I thought her last race, despite coming up slow, it was better than it looked on paper, because she just had this wide taxing trip, and it was relentless, and it kind of spoke to the fact that she would be better when she got more ground. So, and Capella's one I still want to keep my eye on. She was never in a comfortable spot for her first try on dirt. She was just down on the inside, never really able to extricate herself over that wet going. And for her first start on dirt, I think it was okay. And once she gets more experience over it, I think we could see an improved effort. But taking nothing away from Sheet of Beauty, who definitely stepped up her game yesterday.
Something to be said for, just keeping winning. She did take a big move forward. She'd need to take a lot bigger move forward going forward. But from this barn, she could. There's no standout, though, in this division.
Right. She seems to be a filly that's going to appreciate more distance. So she got a 77 buyer. It was 15 points better than her prior 2 numbers. The best horses in the division are getting mid to high 80s. So it's not as though she's not within hailing distance with improvement of getting there, and they're taking her time with her. I'm not saying I'm in love with her, but I just seem to think she handles these distances. And right now, I mean, Wonder Wheel didn't run well. There's a lot of horses out there. Yesterday, we saw that Devona Dale was a total blow up with the favorite running nowhere. So that Kentucky Oaks right now, wide open. And I'm not familiar with what, if anybody, that's good is out in California.
Yeah. We're going to take a time out. We got the feature still to come at Oaklawn Race 8, 3-year-old fillies, mile and a 16th. Punch Bowl, Brad Cox, 1 start, sprinting in the mud. Bothered a bit at the break. Got up to win by 3/4 of a length. Now we'll stretch out to 2 turns. And a mile and a 16th, the 3-5 favorite. We'll be back.
Drain the Clock will win, and win by as much as he wants. He'll win by 6 in the end.
It is Drain the Clock who will bound home the winner in the Bay Short. Drain the Clock
Jackie's Warrior, a terrific finish in the Woody Stevens that goes to drain the clock by a head.
This season at Oaklawn, we've got more of everything. More of the top thoroughbreds in the world. More days of live racing. And the largest purses in our history. All at a completely reimagined Oaklawn. Come be a part of this historic season at Arkansas's only casino resort.
It's Rock Your World in command. Medina Spirit making no progress. And it's going to be Rock Your World to take them all the way in the Santa Anita Derby. He's undefeated and wins by 4.
Racetrack Television Network brings you every race, from every track, on every screen, every day. With monthly packages starting as low as $5, RTN gives you great value and access to more live HD streaming and race replays than anyone. Visit RTN.tv today to sign up and watch on almost any device, including Roku and Amazon Fire. RTN has packages that start at $5 per month.
The industry has a few things that we have to take care of better, and one was the aftercare of the horses.
If we did nothing, these horses would end up in very bad places.
Go back to where we were years and years and decades ago when it was just considered de rigueur that you could just send these horses to slaughter.
It's different than any other program that was put into place.
I remember that meeting at Belmont Park. It was a dream.
It is a first line of defense for those who are concerned about what happens to the equine athlete after he's done racing.
Without the TAA to provide that oversight, there would be a big void in terms of making sure that we have this ongoing safe environment for our off-the-track racehorses.
We started with some 21 organizations across the country, and now we're up to over 82 facilities throughout the country and giving away almost just under $25 million.
It's the one shining accomplishment that we have that we can point to say we really do love our horses.
Just the word aftercare has become part of the discussion, has been part of the vernacular in a way that it was not when I started this position around the start of 2013.
It's a daunting task that the TAA and its accredited organizations have taken on. And that's why the industry itself has got to fund it.
Every time I turn around across the country, the TAA staff is there, and they're shaking hands and they're kissing babies, and they're doing the blocking and tackling right that needs to be done.
We have a social responsibility to make sure that thoroughbred aftercare is also #1 on the list.
Time for the feature coming up at Oaklawn in Hot Springs. Race 8, 3-year-old fillies going a mile and a 16th here on America's Day at the Races on our FS2 coverage, and it is heavy favoritism to the Brad Cox filly making start number 2 on the stretch out. Punch Bowl the 6, 2-5 on the board. Wow, that is a lot of money. We're going to start our post parade in a moment here with Tough Legacy from the inside. Here she is for Norm Cassie.
Yeah, and she got it done like so many other Norm Cassie horses at Oaklawn on a muddy sealed track. Nice figure. Got a very good setup in that race, though.
Best figure of anyone in this race from this filly last time out right here. She's looking lucky.
She's going to be a heavy second choice by post time, and frankly, you and I both think she's a major threat to the favorite. Her last race was big, but it wasn't off the turf race.
Santangelo, Greg Compton trains.
Yeah, she got her best figure last time, but overall, probably a little slow.
Blue Light Special at 22-1 with Gabriel Saez.
He would have to improve. She would.
Here's Punch Bowl, 1-2 for Brad Cox.
Brad Cox's numbers stretching out maidens off of debut wins are not good at all. And I really think this horse is massively overbet off an effort that was okay, but nothing spectacular.
Veronica Corningstone went by. 3-year-old debut coming up.
She's not impossible, by the way.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
For Kenny McPeek. Beautiful and Bold, 31-1. We saw in here Stellar Lady for McPeek as well.
Okay, why is this horse taking all this money? She's a little stake-faced, but she didn't win this race off her last race. She finished behind the 8 last time, who's 31-1, and she's 5-1. Something's a little askew, right?
Let's go to Paul.
We'll address that situation first for you, Andy. On the 9, I'm in agreement with you. And the other part about it, she's kind of lost it here in the paddock, in the post braid. And now this might be her. I don't know how she usually acts, but she is pretty washed out on a beautiful day. And, you know, the sun has gone down, and she just looks to me like she's really anxious. So I don't know why she is 5-1. To get to the contenders in here, you know, the 6 punch bowl, 1-2. Ooh. And here's my thing about it is I get it. It's Brad Cox. This horse did, you know, do some great running in her first time out. Okay, now that was over a muddy racetrack. So now she has to try 2 new things, a dry racetrack. Now, it worked out, obviously, for the horse the race before. And, you know, she gets franked a little bit because Sacred Wish did win. Now she's got to go around 2 turns for the first time. And closing sprinters that go around 2 turns over time will empty your bank account. But at 1-2, I just don't get it. I mean, I get the horse should be the favorite. I was thinking 4-5-ish. I don't understand why there's no money going towards the 3 in here, and she's looking money from Matt Shearer. You know, this horse took off last time out and won by an absolute pole. I mean, it was very, very impressive. I don't know if this filly's got even more in the tank. And then the 2. If you look at the 2 horse in here, that's a ridiculous price on the 2. This horse went around 2 turns for the first time, and this horse almost fell at the start. David Caprera had actually put his legs back in the irons, and then she came back. I understand she won in the mud. She got a great setup, but I got a 48% trainer at 11-1. It's just, this race is kind of tricky because when you take 1 number horses like the 2, 3, and 6, you guys mentioned a horse like Cornerstone, who has already, you know, basically broke her maiden in the stakes race, could be dangerous in here. And again, I don't understand where the money's going with the 5. But at 11-1, I cannot ignore the 2. I do think the 6 is the horse to beat, but 1-2 is ridiculous.
It is crazy. I mean, power again of these connections. Brad Cox off a filly who started once sprinting in the mud. So never been on a fast track, never gone 2 turns.
Laughable.
Facing winners for the first time. Let's take a look at the debut.
I think it's laughable this horse is that price. I looked up some numbers. His stretch out in the dirt off maiden wins, he's 8 for 39. Doing their second start, he's 3 for 20. Both low ROIs. She ran fine first time out. She made that big run. She didn't have a great start. This is a tougher spot. It's a muddy sealed track. Brad Cox is winning at just over 20% at Oaklawn. It's not as though he's winning with every horse. I think this is like, I get it, but as Paulie would say, I get it. I sound like Paul, but I don't get him. It's the 3-5. I think he's probably supposed to be about 6-7-5, and the 3 is supposed to be about 9-5.
Looked like she had no chance mid-stretch to win that debut, but she somehow got up to do it. Jonathan, your thoughts here. Start number 2 for Punch Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, look, she got a fast figure last time, but like everyone's kind of pointed out, she earned that sprinting in the slop. So the last race, I had the same question about a horse who earned a number in the slop first time out, whether or not that was as good of a performance as it looked. Punch Bowl's probably pretty good. And, you know, she's a likely winner of this race. She's trained by a trainer who wins these types of races with these types of horses. But she's 3-5, and I just find the 3 she's looking lucky to be significantly more interesting. She didn't run particularly fast when she was with Al Stall. Her numbers weren't that quick. But, man, she ran extremely fast compared to those numbers last time. Maybe she's improving. Maybe she appreciated it down at Fairgrounds. I just think that at the price, her speed figure and the favorite, the 6 Punch Bowl speed figure, are so close, are too close for this big of a price differential, 3-5, 5-1, when you know that the 3 will get 2 turns. You know the 3 can run well on a dry track. And I think that those are things that can give you a little bit of confidence when you're trying to take on this 3-5 shot. I'll take the 3. She's looking lucky.
I'm alive in the double. to She's Looking Lucky. It's paying $19.20, I think. The last winner paid just under $6. Make no mistake, the 3 is probably going to be 2-1 by post time. She's not going to be anywhere near her 5-1.
Here's She's Looking Lucky, and this was a dominant figure that she ran last time out. As you said, it was a race that was taken off the turf. Numbers I look at, and she's in a different league than Punch Bowl. Punch Bowl was start number 1 for a barn that improves them, but this was big.
You say he wins with these types. The numbers say he doesn't. So we'll talk about it. I like the 3. I agree. I don't love off the turf races. I'm not thrilled. I agree. But it was a 2-turn race, and this horse ran big. And it wasn't totally loose in the lead, so I thought she ran well, and I'd rather take her at a bigger price. She's going to be much lower than 9-2. The reality is, let me just say it again, stretching out in the dirt off of maiden wins overall, Brad Cox is 8 for 39, 21% with a $1.12 ROI. That means the horses are winning 1 out of 5 times. They're $10. They're paying $5.20 or $5.60. I'm sorry. Second time stars, he's 3 for 20. So the reality is, it's not a huge sample size, but he doesn't have astronomically good numbers in those situations. And 3 to 5 on this horse, to me, ridiculous. Muddy sealed track. Of course she can win this race, but you're taking all the worst of it. But I still think you're going to see that late flash, and you're going to see her go up to even money, and the 3 go down to 2-1, maybe 5-2.
Left-hand side of your screen, by the way, post parade for the nightcap at Aqueduct. Non-winners of 3 life. $14,000 claiming tax, will all for sale for that price in a 1-turn mile. So you look at the 5, huge long shot. The favorite was the 5 who just went by, 2-1. Here's the 6, sight unseen.
She's a little tough to make as Mark Hennigan looked to win 2 straight races. I'm not sure why she's 5-1.
7, Bingo John.
He is. If Bingo John had a more experienced jockey, I'd make a big bet on him. This rider is a little hard to take, but he's the one I prefer.
Tough to make the 8. X-Top 31-1, and then Centavo on the outside taking play 6-1 from a 12-1 morning line.
Last time. Well, keep in mind there were massive scratches in here. I begrudgingly switched my pick to Bingo John over Don't Be Late and Prince of Joy. Don't Be Late is a preposterous over. I'm sorry, he's trying to keep looking at different boards. It's 5-2. I think you're going to see Kendrick go, and Don't Be Late's probably going to wire the field in this bias race.
Kendrick Carmouche on the 3. Don't Be Late, who we missed in that post parade as we picked it up. But there's the 3, major player in here. Yeah, makes a good appearance too.
But back to Oaklawn. Well, they're doing the circle. You know, Greg, there's nothing better than the circle. There really isn't.
I gotta say, look, and you talked about the numbers. I'm with you. I prefer the fact that She's Looking Lucky did it at a route of ground. Punch Bowl looked great on the track, though.
I'm not going to be surprised when Punch Bowl wins, but I wouldn't bet a nickel on that horse at that price. As I said, I singled in the double. I have a double going with the 3. And the 3 is now 7-2 and heading lower. They're just going hog wild off a maiden win.
Paul brought up a good point, too. The hottest barn still, even though it's cooled off a little bit because he was an insane closing in on 60%, Norm Cassidy with the 2. Tough legacy.
Yeah, I don't like that horse, but I don't disagree with Paul that the horse. Well, I think at 3 to 5, he's making the Punch Bowl is making overlays all over the board at those odds. I don't really like the number 2 horse in here for Norm, as we've got so much going on here. A muddy sealed track last time, very good trip. Huge pace setup. The race really was dumped in this horse's lap. So I'm not enamored, but if you like that horse 9-1, it's a big price. And I don't think it's going to come down that much because the 3 is going to come down.
Issues at the gate for Tough Legacy, too, who now inherits the rail. For Norm Cassidy, the barn 48% at this meet. Favorite, though, Punch Bowl. Just start number 2. Trying 2 turns for the first time for Brad Cox. Florent Giroux aboard the 6 filly. It's the feature on the Sunday card. Let's go to Jim Byers.
And Stellar Lady. All in line. And they're off. Punch Bowl came out well, but inside of her it's Blue Light Special. Up on the outside, Beautiful and Bold. Punch Bowl finds herself in between rivals here, into that clubhouse turn, and Punch Bowl on the stretch out is going to go to a narrow lead. Beautiful and Bold is second. Back to the inside, Blue Light Special. She's Looking Lucky. Sits just off of those early leaders. She's racing 4th. Corningstone a 3-wide 5th. 2 lengths then. And Tough Legacy is racing 6th and saving ground onto the backstretch. Stellar Lady is next to last, and Santangelo Trails the field as they advance up the backstretch. Punch Bowl, who came from way out of it, sprinting in her debut, is on the engine here. A narrow lead. Beautiful and Bold is alongside. Length and a half then to She's Looking Lucky. Corningstone up on the outside is 2.5 off the lead, and Blue Light Special is prominently placed on the inside in the white sleeves. 3 lengths farther back to A Tough Legacy, then Stellar Lady, and Santangelo is tailed well off as they round the turn. Punch Bowl has been pressed pretty much every step here by Beautiful and Bold. Up on the outside, She's Looking Lucky is racing toward a more prominent second now, and inching on by Beautiful and Bold, and Punch Bowl responds, and Punch Bowl begins to draw clear. Punch Bowl is now 3 lengths to the good of She's Looking Lucky. Then up the inside comes Blue Light Special, and on the outside, Tough Legacy, but Punch Bowl is an impressive 2 for 2, and now she has won around 2 turns as well. She's Looking Lucky, second. Tough Legacy was third. Blue Light Special, fourth.
Talked about how wide open this division is right now. Maybe we have a new contender in here on the road to the Oaks here. Punch Bowl, now 2 for 2. 6 furlong sprinting debut. Now stretches out to 2 turns with no problem.
I wouldn't write anybody off in this division. 3 got that trip. I mean, she got an easy lead. I mean, they really didn't go fast. I don't know why Gabriel Saez just gave it up on the 5, but I guess that's what riders do these days. And she was able to control in a fairly moderate pace, but she was much the best here. No excuse for the 3-horse. She was second best.
Brad Cox, Florent Giroux, Gary and Mary West, and Punch Bowl dominant. Daughter of Uncle Mo. Now 2 for 2 with a win. It's 6 furlongs and now at a mile and 16. Let's get back to New York. Nightcap about to load here again. This 1-turn mile, now winners of 3 life, and it's 6-5 favoritism to the 3. Don't Be Late with Kendra Carmouche.
Yeah, I wouldn't bet. Listen, I picked the 7 here, but I do think that Don't Be Late is much the horse to beat in this race. So no argument from me, Greg.
Prince of Joy, the 5. Jackie Davis taking play as well, 7-2.
And all these races are getting jammed up together because of Gulfstream. Is that what's going on here? It's unfortunate.
See if Kendra can deliver here for Michelle Giangiulio. Sunday card coming to a close here. Centavo remaining to take money outside from that. I mean, obviously, you said the scratches. Sure, everyone's going to come down, but that was a slow figure.
Yeah, Centavo's a little hard to make in this race, to be honest with you. Got a perfect trip up the inside against weaker horses. A little tough to make.
Chris Griffin, Nightcap from Aqueduct here, race 9.
X-Top goes in. Centavo, last to load. All in line. All set. And they're off. Breaking awkwardly was Voliero. Got shuffled there, is at the back end of the field. Don't Be Late has got early speed. There's Prince of Joy in the early mix and Sight Unseen. Towards the far outside, Centavo's got early speed. Bingo John, Don't Be Late, once off the rail, has immediately gone out to about the 4-path as they come out of the chute. It's a scramble on for the front end. Prince of Joy is at the rail, holds that position. Sight Unseen is 2 wide. 3 wide is Bingo John, followed by Centavo. X-Top gets a nice trip here, is in the 5th spot, is in the clear, is following this 4-way battle for the front end. Voliero was off awkwardly, is now progressing out in the center of the racetrack. It's a mid-race move, and watching all this action. At the back now, it's Don't Be Late and Kendra Carmouche. They're tightly bunched again as they approach a half-mile left to go. 23-4 was the opening quarter mile, but it was pressured. They are 5 across the racetrack here in the finale. Prince of Joy has let it out. It's Prince of Joy who's kicked clear. Prince of Joy is up by a full length. Sight Unseen is trying to keep up. Centavo is under a full drive from 3rd. Don't Be Late, and a ground-saving trip right now was taken towards the back end of the field. Kendra Carmouche has got a handful. Where's he going to go? It's Prince of Joy who's got the lead. Sight Unseen is in the 2-path. Centavo is up 3 wide. Don't Be Late. Will the rail open up? Pink Cap just going to try and muscle on through. Centavo has kicked on. Prince of Joy is right there. Don't Be Late has every chance down at the inside for a final furlong left to go. And Don't Be Late has now taken the lead. Centavo is in for the battle up on the outside, comes right back. Don't Be Late cannot put away a stubborn Centavo. Centavo to the outside. Don't Be Late to the inside. Don't Be Late gets the score. It's Don't Be Late who wins the finale over Centavo, sight unseen, and Prince of Joy in 1 minute 40.50 seconds.
Don't Be Late showing some fight, re-rallying here under Kendrick Carmouche to get the win, sight unseen. Ground taken away from that 6 horse. That was a tough trip mid-stretch.
And Centavo, who you and I didn't like, was best in here with the wide trip. And Kendrick got over the fence after taking back a horse that could have been forward, but he got right to that good rail and needed every bit of it. He bet this horse at a short price and they're cashing. You should be very, very, very thankful. We didn't like Centavo, but he was best in this race. Funny rides.
Even money, Don't Be Late.
Wow.
Four Corners Racing in 10 strike. From Michelle Giangilio and Kendrick Carmouche.
Good old 10 strike.
Even money over 6-1 and sight unseen. Re-rallies there for third after the, it was the 9 that took away that ground from him mid-stretch. We're going to have the prices for you when we come back. We still have the nightcap to come as well at Oaklawn. Stay with us.
Every hair, every muscle, every contour, every pulse. In the Juvenile.
Essential quality have won.
In the Belmont.
Essential quality has won the Belmont Stakes.
Well named.
Back with you on America's Day of the Races, brought to you in part by Hillendale at Alapa. Feature in the books at Oaklawn, Punch Bowl. 2 for 2 now. After that debut win, which he got out of the gate slowly, rallied to get up to win at 6 furlongs. This time, as you heard from Jim Byers, yes, much closer to the pace, stretching out, and then pulls away. And
go ahead, sorry.
No, finish up.
No, I was going to say, it just seems like this division, anybody can win at this point, right?
There is no clear-cut standout. Wonder Wheel, the 2-year-old champion filly, coming back at beat in the Suncoast. Why not this filly? Who knows how it's going to sort itself out. We got a long, well, not that long, but in terms of how they grow up from start to start, still got a ways till that first Friday in May. Even money, and it was warranted with that performance. She's looking lucky. Distant second, Tough Legacy third for Norm Cassie.
Yeah, I mean, they were the 2 horses in the race, but the winner was much the best.
All right, back to New York, Kendrick Carmouche. A couple of wins on this Sunday card. Don't Be Late. Battling Centavo down the stretch for the win.
Yeah, if you bet Centavo, and Greg and I were not fans, You got a right to be a little frustrated. You bet the best horse. But Kendrick got the better trip. I mean, had a better post, took advantage of it, saved the ground, came through on the inside, but Centavo did the running. Tough beat if you bet that one.
396, excuse me. Don't be late. $4.20 for the victory. Missed by a neck last start. This time wins by about a neck. Again, 10 strike and 4 corners racing. And the pick 5, modest, as was the pick 6. Not a day for prices.
No.
Here at Aqueduct. We're going to take a timeout. We'll return. When we do, we'll talk road to the Kentucky Derby once again. The 2-year-old champ was back. His long-awaited return for his 3-year-old debut came Saturday in the Fountain of Youth. He looked as good as ever. Forte dominant. Stay with us.
Here comes Malathon. Here comes Clariere on the outside, and it's got to be Clariere. Nest, much the best. She won by better than 10 lengths. And Elite Power gets up to win the sprint. Outside, it's Malathon coming to the wire. Who's it going to be? Here's the wire. Oh, the wish has come true. That one's for you, Cody.
These are the trainers and teachers, the cooks, carpenters, and clockers, grooms and gardeners. These are the hardworking people who show up every day to keep horse racing running across the state. Good-paying jobs that support New York families, along with the thousands of local businesses that depend on Belmont Park. Modernizing Belmont Park would generate $1 billion in economic activity and protect and create thousands of jobs. Albany, create New York jobs. Modernize Belmont Park.
Accelerate, a 5-time Grade 1 winner with over $6 million in earnings. In 2018 alone, he won the Santa Anita Handicap, the Gold Cup, the Pacific Classic by a record-setting 12.5 lengths, the Awesome Again, and bested a world-class field in the Breeders' Cup Classic. A grandson of legendary Lanes End stallion Smart Strike, Accelerate stands to continue his grandsire's legacy at Lanes End.
It's America's original sport, and no one covers it better than America'sBestRacing.net. From the sport to the lifestyle, the best races, horses, and destination venues, cocktails, gambling, fashion, and more. America'sBestRacing.net is a sport for you. Live it, love it, bet it.
We're back on America's Day at the Races, brought to you in part by America's Best Racing. For the love of the race, visit America'sBestRacing.net today. Excuse me. Greg Wolf, Andy Serling with you. And back yesterday on that road to the Derby, the 2-year-old champ, Forte, off a 4-month layoff. Looks like he has not skipped a beat at all.
Yeah, I mean, he ran a very similar buyer figure to his Breeders' Cup Juvenile. He got a 98 buyer, he got 100 that day. Now you have to imagine that Todd had him, as ready to go as he could be in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile while this is the first start of the year. But Todd is a trainer that has them ready, and he was ready. He's a very good, very professional racehorse. He's always been a professional racehorse, and he's shown he can adapt to whatever racetrack or circumstances he's faced with. Mud, 1-turn, 2-turn. Just a very, very good horse that's very reliable. He did what he was supposed to do. He started his 3-year-old year off the right way. He is the Derby favorite. Whether you like him or not on Derby Day, who knows? It's 2 months of the racing. But he's good and he is dependable.
Is he going to stay in Florida for that next prep, that final prep before that first Saturday in May, or will it potentially go to the Bluegrass at Keeneland? That's the next question for the connections of Forte. Let's get JK's take on what he saw from the 2-year-old champ.
Well, I think a lot of us, the biggest question we had yesterday was whether or not he was going to be fit off of the break. I don't think anyone questioned his talent. I don't think anyone questioned how good he was as a 2-year-old. I think the thing that most people who maybe were against or were concerned were what's going to happen with this horse who hasn't run since November. Well, he showed up and he ran huge. Now, there's not really any questions left. The questions now are, is he going to stay healthy? And kind of where's the ceiling for him? And I think that even if you thought he was going to be ready, or maybe you were one of those that didn't think he was going to be ready, you have to think he's going to take a step forward now. He's with a trainer in Todd Pletcher who knows how to get horses out to the Kentucky Derby. He knows how to win the Kentucky Derby. And I think that he has an extremely talented horse who is tenacious, who has a style that suits the Kentucky Derby perfectly. And I think that the decision on whether they run in Florida or whether they run in Lexington will be based on the time in between races. And who better to make that decision than Todd Pletcher about what's going to be best for Forte. He is without a doubt the leader in the clubhouse. We'll see what happens with Arabian Night if and when he gets back to the racetrack. But Forte has the foundation as a 2-year-old, and he's got an electrifying race that he ran as a 3-year-old, and you got to think he's only going to get faster.
So we'll see what that next and final Derby prep comes with that win. Points-wise, he moves back to the top of the list. But still waiting to see. Obviously, a lot of talk with the talent Arabian Night has shown, but who else is going to assert themselves on this list, and it's going to come when we see these 100-point races?
Yeah, I mean, I think the worst thing that people do is marry themselves, get excited, say, this is my Derby horse in February or March. Because when you bet them, you get paid more when they win. Just see how they develop. See if their horses are going to move forward. Horses are going to fall by the wayside. As Johnson mentioned, horses are going to get injured. If you're a trainer and you're an owner, the biggest concern you always have is whether or not your horse can stay sound.
Just get them there.
So there's a long way and a lot will happen. Forte is the favorite right now, and he ran fine yesterday. I don't know why anybody was concerned that he would run well off a layoff. Todd Pletcher's almost always do, especially his good horses. So to me, that was never a concern. He was an overwhelmingly likely horse to win. I think he ran fine yesterday.
And he didn't run some kind of figure, too, that has blown the doors off what some of these other 3-year-olds have done throughout the country.
Right. He's a consistent, reliable type horse. He has not run that big figure, and he hasn't shown yet that he's going to make that move forward. Now he may. And if you're Todd Pletcher, you want that forward move to be on the first Saturday in May. And I'm almost certain he'll stay in the Florida Derby, and I read comments from Todd suggesting he would. You imagine if things go well next week with the horse he's running in the Tampa Bay Derby, he'll be favored. The horse who won the allowance race, Tapit Trice. He'll win it if he does well in the Tampa Bay Derby, runs respectfully. He'll probably go to the Bluegrass. Maybe one of them comes to the Wood as well. But I have to imagine Todd will stay in Florida with this horse. History says he would, and it's worked out well for him as well as helping get stallions also. Though I think he's already made as a stallion. What do you think?
I do.
He has a good chance to stand somewhere.
He's made a few.
Somebody will
in
be
his
looking
career
to give him a shot.
We have the finale still to come from Oaklawn. Stay with us. 9th at Oaklawn, 6 for a long sprint. Arkansas bred maidens lining up. We'll be back right after this.
Eclipse champion Blaine, a proven sire with over 15% lifetime stakes horses. His recent top runners include graded stakes winner and Kentucky Derby hopeful Litigate.
Litigate going to go on to win it here.
As well as Kentucky Oaks hopeful Wet Paint. Also an emerging broodmare sire, his stakes-producing daughters include the dam of Eclipse champion and Kentucky Derby favorite Forte.
Forte to win the Breeders' Cup Juvenile.
Blaine, standing at Claiborne Farm.
Back with you on America's Day of the Races on our FS2 coverage. We got the nightcap coming up in Hot Springs. We'll get to that in a little bit. We're going to look back to the Tom Fool from Saturday at Aqueduct. And big effort here, Victoria's Ranch. Victor Martinez, V-Mart, former 5-time All-Star, has another good one here. Fastest 6 furlongs run this winter.
No, this was an exceptional performance. Got a 102 buyer and earned it the hard way. Attended a very quick pace that ultimately fell apart. A pace that also included, second place finisher, Running Son of a Gun, who he beat quite easily, who held well for second also. But a 102 buyer, he really ran today. He did not look like one of the most logical winners in the race, but he really got it done. And I think this is a really nice group of sprinters and a very competitive Tom Fool. One of the toughest ones we've run in quite a few years.
2 for 2 on off tracks. That's the biggest figure he's ever run. So maybe big things ahead for this.
Gotta try the car.
On the improved 4-year-old.
Gotta
Victor
take a
Martinez,
shot.
he was on the Triple Crown Trail with a horse a few years back. Now he's got a very talented sprinter. Saturday Stakes winners, there they are. Sheet of Beauty on that road to the Oaks. Little Vic, and then Race Kane in the Gotham on the road to the Derby. $49. Big prices in all of them.
Yeah, no upsets. The last 2 are part of a $31,000 late pick 5 here.
A step aside for a timeout. We will be back with this 9th from Oaklawn. The favorite right now is expected. It's Classy Socks, the 10. Just ran second of this condition last time out.
War Dancer. The momentum continues with recent stakes winners on turf and dirt. Dancing Buck going wire to wire in the Grade 3 Belmont Turf.
Dancing Buck has opened up on the field. It is Dancing Buck by a half dozen lengths.
And 2-year-old filly War Saichi with a wire-to-wire win in the Ladyfinger Stakes.
War Saichi asserted her authority immediately out of the starting gate, and she has not relinquished the lead.
War Dancer, the #1 third crop turf sire in North America. Proud to stand in New York.
RaceLens is the most in-depth product in horse racing with unique features found nowhere else. True odds, predictive analysis, and pace projection. RaceLens. It will change the way you follow horse racing and take your game to the next level.
This season at Oaklawn, we've got more of everything. More of the top thoroughbreds in the world. More days of live racing. And the largest purses in our history. All at a completely reimagined Oaklawn. Come be a part of this historic season at Arkansas's only casino resort.
Racetrack Television Network brings you every race, from every track, on every screen, every day. With monthly packages starting as low as $5, RTN gives you great value and access to more live HD streaming and race replays than anyone. Visit RTN.tv today to sign up and watch on almost any device, including Roku and Amazon Fire. RTN has packages that start at $5 per month.
For a time, as many as 350 major league players converged in Hot Springs, Arkansas each spring to prepare for the upcoming season.
Ownership felt they needed to boil out the alcoholic microbes. Hot Springs was known as a place that had therapeutic waters, and they came for that reason. And then the ball players turned out to love it because they really not only did get in shape, but they had a great time.
By the 1930s, nearly half of all major league teams had, at some point, used Hot Springs as their spring training base. Plus, about half of all prominent ball players visited Hot Springs individually. Babe Ruth used to visit Hot Springs to work his way into shape, a place to prepare for spring training. In fact, the Babe even used the hot healing waters to recover from influenza. This wall at the Gangsters Museum of America in Hot Springs represents the long list of Hall of Fame baseball greats who trained here. The winter storm of 2021 is a reminder of why baseball eventually migrated away from hot springs. The rain proved to be a disruption, and sometimes even the cold and snow wiped out valuable practice time. Although by the 1930s most teams moved to Florida and Arizona, Hot Springs would continue to be a destination for players to work out before joining their major league squads for decades to come. Back with you, America's Day at the Races. We got the finale coming up here at Oaklawn. Quick look at the current odds. 5-2 favoritism. Classy Sox, the 10. Paulie, Vero Beach got nothing on Hot Springs.
No, it doesn't, and I got a great story for you, too. A lot of us used to use it, too, and it was Willie Mays who came with it. It would get so hot here in Hot Springs and also down in Florida where they would train that Willie Mays would take cabbage leaves, and he would put them in his freezer, and then the next day he would put them in the bill of his hat to keep his head warm and keep his body warm. And it was an old trick that we always used to use, and it was brought down from Willie. It was genius as can be, because you'd be out in Florida in 100-degree humidity, and we'd have cabbage leaves in the freezer in our locker room, and we'd stick them in our helmets and our hats. And it was an old trick that actually Willie learned here in Hot Springs. And the tradition here when it comes to baseball is truly amazing when it comes to the Negro Leagues and also everybody that's been through here. So just a privilege to be here, especially a person that is a person that played baseball and an aficionado. I've always appreciated the history and never really realized the history until I got here, Greg, and it's just phenomenal to see it. Now, to get to this last race, these are Arkansas breds, and these are really tough to figure out. So you do look at the 10 Classy Sox, and you look and you see, okay, you know, he's run 4 races that are consistent enough that beat everybody else in this race besides the 9's race, unless somebody improves. I mean, that's just the bottom line when you look at this race. He put blinkers on last time, and he 2 starts ago didn't run that well, but ran a nice second the time before that. But the time before that, he ran a good second too. So I can understand why you're getting 10 to or even money. I don't know about that in this kind of race. Wicked Prince to 9, I know dropped. I like the way that he looked on the racetrack. And then the 7 was confusing to me because I actually bet the 7 last time out. Ready Shoes didn't run a step, but I like the way that he was warming up today. I thought he had a little bit of a look. The 9, like I was talking about, and then some of the horses in here, maybe the 4 is getting a lot of money, some attention in here at a little bit of a price. Ike Wazowski, I've talked to you about this horse. This is Monsters Inc. horse. They named him Ike Wazowski because he has one eye, but he ran well his first time out and showed some speed. I thought the 2 Sir Peel is kind of the wild card horse in here. You know, ran against Archie Breds for the first time, and that was way back in December in the Chelsea Moisty barn. Now gets into the Ron Moquette barn. So I'll take a shot at 10 to 1. I just can't take an Arkansas bred race at a horse at 6 to 5, but I think Classy Shoes is by far the horse to beat.
Yeah, the public agrees certainly with Classy Sox near Paulie. Thanks. Never knew about the cabbage in the helmet. Good
like
little
that.
trick.
I'm interested in the 1 and 2 as well here.
How before we get to the 1 and 2, that last figure last time out came on a sloppy sealed track.
No. I'm not buying it.
No?
Well, this is horse that ran at 63 in the turf, but 52, 56, 42, and then suddenly jumps to 69. But also the same time that the horse inside of him, Wicked Prince, went 34, 34, 61. So these are weird sealed track numbers. Listen, Time From US has the race very fast as well. So I'm not disagreeing, saying the number's wrong. I just don't think it's reliable going forward. And, you know, that horse is 6 to 5. Why is Wicked Prince 9 to 1? I guess he's been a little faster before. I think the 2 Sir Peel, who's running second time against Archie Breds, and this is first time for Ron Moquette. I think Ron Moquette is very, very interesting. And I think Mard Madigan, the 1 who I thought did a little bit of running first time out, switches to Christian Torres. I thought that horse could be interesting as well. I'm interested in the inside 2 runners.
There's the first time of the 3 who is getting a little attention. 9 to 1, that's Debater.
Right. No, I mean, I don't. I have no reason. There are 2 halves to Debater that ran buyers in the 80s for what it's worth. 3 that couldn't run, 2 that could.
All right, Jonathan, heavy favorite here. Classy Socks, where are you going to wind up?
Yeah, look, the heavy favorite deserves to be the favorite here, but I still don't trust the horse. I'm going to go with the 3 Debater for a couple of reasons. One, this horse is taking a little bit of money off the morning line. Look, the morning line is just a prediction of what they think is going to happen. But the biggest thing for me is that the connections. There's nothing about these connections that scream first-time starters that I want to bet. In the career, the trainer is 2 for 32 with first-time starter, 6%. And then this year at the meet, 1 for 15. And then overall in the career, just a 10% trainer. So a low percentage trainer who has a first-time starter that was at 1.6 to 1 was taking some money. So for me, it just feels like this horse probably has a little bit of ability. And like Andy mentioned, some halves that could run a little bit. So maybe there is a little bit of talent here. And it feels like the way they're betting this horse is going to outrun the odds of 10 to 1 that are showing on the board right now.
Yeah, I was a little intrigued by the 3 too. It's tough to trust these. We've seen form just tail off start to start too. They just don't repeat it.
Oh, I'd like to book the 10 at even money in here, win or lose. I'd be happy to book $100 on this horse. I'm not betting a horse off of one sort of figure that never run before on a sloppy or muddy sealed track. I think that's a terrible way to gamble at short prices. You have to look at the 9 and say, well, you think the 9 ran at 61, so what if you think it's more likely to come back and run a more realistic number? I have no idea what the 3 is, a total guess. I don't guess with firsters, but I'm interested in the 1 and 2 in here, and I think this horse is just an absolutely terrible, terrible gamble in here at even money. Win or lose.
Classy Socks second there. Yeah, Pink Cap and the Wicked Prince in that same race was 4th. It was just start number 3 for Wicked Prince, and as you said, both those 2 on that sloppy seal track, the figure jumped way up.
Right, now to be fair, this horse could win with a 56 buyer. It ran 3 races back. So I'm not saying the horse can't win.
4 to 5.
4 to 5. I just think this is this is the kind of horse you're betting at 4 to 5. My gosh, there have to be better horses to find at shorter prices. To me, this is just, and betting lower level Arkansas breds, or even, I don't mean to pick on Arkansas breds, any of these lower level horses, these prices, they're reliable. I just don't see it at all. This horse ran a 42 buyer the time before that. I don't know. Broke slow that day. Maybe he'll break slow again. I don't know.
What about the 4 with the speed that he showed in the debut, start number 2 coming up?
Yeah, I don't think that horse is impossible. Horse could very well be in front in this race. And by the way, the pace between the 4 and 10 could be a little bit hot. These horses have some speed. What if they start moving a little bit? I'm not going to be shocked when the 10 wins, but I'd love to book some money on it, I'll tell you that.
And Paul brought up the 7. Just the fact that Ricardo Santana Jr. gets back aboard this horse when he really didn't show a lot last time. I wondered why Santana was on him last time, and he gets back aboard today.
The worry I have, well, because he ran a good figure against Opens, getting the Archibred. So I can understand last time with the 58. The problem I have with this horse is the big number was the only time this horse ran against Opens. The 2 times ran against Arkansas breds didn't show up at all. That worries me a little bit. But listen, the figure 2 races back, this horse should be a much shorter price.
Yeah, 19 to 1 right now on the 7.
I fooled around the 1 and 2.
10's your favorite. It's Classy Socks. David Cabrera aboard. Jim Byers to close out the card from Hot Springs.
Rudiano heads in. Scrimshire on the outside. The last to load. They're in the gate. They're off. Awkward start for both Rudiano and Willie Wynn. They're shuffled at the back end of the field. Reddy's Shoes is caught up in that shuffling as well. From the inside, the first-time starter Debater is flashing speed. Classy Socks and Ike Wazowski are right there, and those 3 are absolutely squared off across the track here into that far turn. Mad Mardigan is racing 4th. Kiss of the Nile on the outside 5th. Sir Peel is racing in 6th, only 3 lengths from the lead. And then comes Wicked Prince Wicked Prince positioned on the outside is about mid-pack, 7 lengths from the lead, then a big gulf back to 4 Dice, followed to the inside by Rudiano, who's trying to recover from a very difficult start. Scrimshire is not going on with it. Inside of him is Ready Shoes, and Willie Wintrails, they're in the stretch. And it's Classy Socks from between horses, and here is the firster, Debater, right on the inside. Kiss of the Nile runs a good one on the outside. It's between Debater on the inside and Classy Socks. Classy Socks or Debater. Classy Socks ahead in front. Classy Socks is going to edge off, take it by a half length at the end. Over Debater, who was a good second. Then comes Kiss of the Nile, and Mad Mardigan fourth.
Big effort first time out for the debuter Debater, but comes up just short here to Classy Socks.
Sorry, I think nobody was picking up any ground today. These two horses looked like they were beating each other's brains in on the front end. They went a sub-22 first quarter for these horses, and the speeds ran 1, 2, 3 around the racetrack, and nobody could gain any ground. Well, you got the money at 4 to 5. Congratulations with the 10. If you're like Jonathan and you like the 3, you're not happy.
4 to 5 over 12 to 1 over 11 to 1. Odds-on favorite closes things out at Oaklawn. Up next on FS2, it's actually live action ice hockey for the Big Ten tournament. Michigan State, Notre Dame. We are back next Thursday. We'll see you at 3 Eastern, and
see then.
We'll have plenty to look forward to next weekend.
All right, looking forward to it.
I as well. We got a lot going on. Who impressed you most this weekend? Was it Little Vic?
Oh, he ran terrific. I mean, Forte was the most impressive of them. But I know there's a lot of good performances all weekend and some things to look forward to as well.
Little Vic, first graded stakes win of his career. Victor Martinez owns. And again, fastest 6 furlongs we've seen all meet long. Very big performance. Again, Thursday we'll see at 3 Eastern start time. Check your local listings on Fox. Some great stakes action this past weekend here in New York and across the country. It was Sheeta Beauty for Chad Brown, Peter Brandt in the Busher. Not huge figures, but she just keeps on winning. She's a perfect 3 for 3 in her career now. Daughter of Practical Joke and likely targeting the Gazelle next. Raised Kane, a shocker in the Grade 3 Gotham 23 to 1 winner on the road to the Kentucky Derby. Likely going to show up at the Wood Memorial next for Ben Colebrook, we would think. And then Forte, the 2-year-old champ, comes back a winner in his 3-year-old debut.